Alright, so we are back at it again, ladies and germs.
I like how it's just it's a
Oh
Monokuma's
shit.
monologue. Okay.
Oh, oh boy, the world is full of ifs.
If Adam hadn't tied the knot with Eve, society as we know it never would have been born. The world that everyone lives in is just one outcome among countless ifs, and will continue to be a muddled world overflowing with infinite ifs. If is what's in miso soup, you know. What lies beyond this point is a scary world filled with iffy stepfathers who abandon their families. A Klein bottle where the inside and the outside are filled with uncertainty. Ah, but don't break it, okay? It'd be so expensive that there's no way you'd ever be able to pay me back. Ahem. But no matter how you look at it, ifs are simply words like any other. No matter how hypothetical the story may be, the future is the only thing that's truly foggy. And the past is more solid than a frozen banana. You can't change a conclusion that's already happened. Even if you see a world that may have existed, it wouldn't affect the people living in reality. See, they're just like hammering in, just like, this shit ain't real. This shit ain't fucking. Hey. Because if is only if, after all. Even if a parallel world exists where a particular if actually happened, humans cannot cross the boundaries between worlds that easily. No matter how far if goes, it will always be a what if scenario.
Just say it's not a canon story.
Dude,
Jesus Christ.
it's the Monokuma theater.
Jesus Christ, I hate this already.
It is Danganronpa time for real. It has been christened.
Do you
It's not
really
even
want to see
Danganronpa.
that?
It's not even like Danganronpa bullshit. It's hypothetical Danganronpa bullshit.
Don't you
Alright,
think
alright, alright.
that's an insult to Makoto and the others after the tragedy they overcame? Though, as far as I'm concerned, I'll still insult them.
Of course she would.
If you're gonna look at if, I think it's better if you view the outside of the Klein bottle first. It might even be better if you view the ending of a video game called Danganronpa Trigger Happy Habit.
Good God.
Try to play it multiple times and spend your free time with Junko Enoshima at least 3 times too.
Oh
It
god.
may
Did we
be
do that?
ideal if you can collect all the items and movies too. But if you guys have come this far, I'm sure you've already done all that. Still, I'd buy the game if I were you. I'd actually buy at least 2 copies if I were you. The curtain.
This is already off to a great start.
It's so stupid. Like the Monokuma theory is just.
The button of hope?
What should I do with this? Makoto Naegi was at a loss. Despite his hesitation, his situation was extremely simple and composed of 3 key factors.
Oh boy.
The first factor was that Makoto was currently locked inside a school. Post Peak Academy is a school for the privileged elite, and each student attending possesses ultimate talent. Makoto was chosen to attend Hope's Peak Academy by a lottery held to select the ultimate lucky student. When he arrived for his first day at school, he immediately lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he saw all the exits and windows had been sealed shut. The next factor was Monokuma, a mysterious robot bear being operated by the mastermind, and the announcement he made to all the students. You'll be living your whole life in this academy, he declared. If you want to leave, then kill someone to become the Black. This strange remote-controlled robot was telling Makoto that his fellow Ultimates to start killing each other in exchange for their freedom. They learned that more than one Monokuma exists, and that each one contains a bomb to prevent anyone from attacking them. On top of that, Monokuma announced that anyone who attempted to harm him would receive punishment. The third and final factor was the red button that Makoto was currently holding in his hand.
Huh?
The words escape button were crudely written on this button.
What?
And though the first two factors were certainly causes for panic, Makoto only seemed at loss over the third. During his free time, Makoto noticed that the school store was open and his curiosity got the better of him. He was overwhelmed by the disjointed atmosphere upon entering, but his attention soon focused on a strange vending machine. The words Mono Mono machine were written on, and it seemed to accept the strange bear pattern coins they sometimes found inside the school. So
Oh boy.
mono coins are real. You just find
Mono
them.
coin real.
It seemed like a bad idea, but Makoto thought there might be a chance that this machine could dispense some way of escaping the school. And so he inserted the only coin he had into the coin. And the result was the escape button mentioned earlier.
Are you serious?
Ultimate lucky student. He's the ultimate lucky student.
No, that's Nagito levels of nonsense, though. Honestly.
Dude, the ultimate lucky student can just do it, dude. There's a limit to how much you can tease us. Maybe the mastermind who trapped us here is making a cruel joke. These thoughts filled Makoto's mind and he began to feel deeply discouraged. However, there's always a chance, right? Makoto was just an ordinary boy and he only gained entry into Hope Speak Academy through a lottery to find the ultimate lucky student. Maybe that luck was the real deal. If this button is real, maybe I can let Sayaka... Makoto took a deep, slow breath and pressed the button. Instantly, pain burst through his entire body. Makoto's arms and legs went limp as he lost his balance and fell to the floor in a crumpled heap.
Bruh.
As he breathed heavily, it dawned on him what had just happened. I got electrocuted? He looked down at the button in his hand and noticed a small needle sticking out of it. Makoto quickly surmised that an electric current must have been running through it. After regaining enough of his strength to stand back up, Makoto thought about it once again. I should have known. It was a fake. Just how sick and twisted was this mastermind? My head still feels a little woozy. I should go back to my room and rest today. With that in mind, Makoto walked out of the school store with slow, careful steps. Makoto didn't know yet. If the escape button really was a fake, it would have been an act of mercy from the mastermind. A small, bear-shaped shadow began moving around inside the now empty school store. The shadow, Monokuma, stood before the Mono Mono machine and stared at its siren. But after some time had passed, he began to laugh, a cold, hollow laugh utterly devoid of emotion. Despite the fact that he was alone, Monokuma began to talk almost as if he was speaking to someone. Perhaps Monokuma was talking directly to the mastermind controlling him. I only put that in the Mono Mono machine because I thought it would be interesting if one of the last few survivors happened to win it. Well, with a success rate of, Jesus.
Oh my god!
I never thought anyone would actually win it.
0.0000001%. Good lord!
Perhaps I should have expected the ultimate lucky student to overcome such impossible odds. Monokuma started blushing and breathing heavily for no apparent reason. A robot like Monokuma doesn't need to breathe, but because his technology is super advanced, he can express himself like a living creature. Makoto was chosen through a lottery, and now he's won the escape button through a lottery. This is obviously impossible, right? Is this what a miracle is? Is this all systems go towards escaping? Is something that defies all common sense about to come crashing into my world? Well, even though I don't really want this at all, I'm starting to enjoy this new sensation. We'll be back after these commercials. Monokuma's internal machinery began running at full capacity and his facial expressions began changing more smoothly than any humans could. Suddenly his expressions immediately stopped and he whispered through his speakers. But is this really good luck? After muttering something so ominous, Monokuma's loud screeching laughter rang jarringly throughout the room. The situation that was about to unfold contained two conflicting emotions in equal measure: hope and despair.
Oh boy.
The next day, nighttime, Makoto's room. Makoto Naegi lay on his bed, desperately struggling with the despair and hope churning within him. Monokuma had forced the students each to watch a DVD earlier that day. Makoto showed a scene that suggested his parents and little sister were in danger, and he now found himself determined to leave the school. It seemed It seems the other students were forced to watch shocking videos of their own. Videos so shocking that they were now determined to escape the school too, even if it meant sacrificing someone to do it. However, it was obvious that these videos were part of Monokuma's trap. As long as a student killed someone, they were allowed to graduate and leave the academy. It seemed that the mastermind controlling Monokuma was hell-bent on making the students kill each other. But right now, Makoto was most worried about Sayaka Maizono, who seemed to be incredibly distressed after watching her DVD. Sayaka wasn't just the ultimate pop sensation, she was also Makoto's classmate when they were students at Blackroot Junior High. Her optimism had been encouraging Makoto these past few days, and he was becoming a similar source of strength for her as well. If nothing else, I have to at least save Sayaka. As soon as Makoto thought that, he suddenly felt a small headache. Was he still reeling from being punched by Mondo the other day, or was this a side effect of being electrocuted by the escape button? As Makoto pondered these things, the pain slowly subsided, and he returned to his determined thoughts of escape. Anyway, we need to work together and... Huh? At that moment, Makoto realized his goal had changed slightly. We all need to? Ideally, it would be best if everyone survived together. However, aside from Sayaka, Makoto had never met the other students before. He didn't know if they could even be trusted in the first place. But at that moment, he trusted them without even an ounce of suspicion. He believed that they were worth helping even at the cost of his own life.
Let's go.
Why? The headache struck again, as if all the blood vessels in his brain were being individually sliced open. Why did I just think that I could trust the others as much as I trust Sayaka? Makoto tried to figure out why his thought process had suddenly changed. Something was wrong. The throbbing pain in his head seemed to synchronize with a strange feeling that something was approaching him. As a ray of light began to form within the dark recesses of his mind, the doorbell rang. Someone's here? He quickly got out of bed, but that only made the headache worse. With no concern for his safety, Makoto carelessly opened the door to his room and came face to face with Sayaka. I'm really sorry to come
Uh-oh.
by so late. Sayaka? The pain. Doing out so late. The moment he saw her face, the pulsating pain in Makoto's head began accelerating. He felt like his world was being torn apart from inside out. Sorry to bother you, but something really weird just happened, and Makoto? What's wrong? You don't look so well. Sayaka was pale and had been trembling when she came to Makoto's room, but she seemed surprised to see that his complexion was worse than her own. Yeah, I'm fine. It's just my head. Makoto couldn't finish his sentence. His eye rolled back into his head and he lost consciousness and slowly fell to the floor. And Sayaka's beautiful voice let out a scream as she stood over Makoto's body. So, yeah. Sorry, very different from how things normally go, right? I think.
You're good, man. Like, I'm worried that like the voice reactions might not be warranted right now, so I'm just gonna keep a little bit quieter.
Oh, no, you're fine. You can react however you do, honestly. That's like half the point. Just like, I already know how this goes. I already know like the main story beats. I'm just kind of like rereading it. Oh,
Okay.
you're awake. Hey, you okay? How many fingers am I holding up? As Makoto regained consciousness, he was greeted by the sight of fingers adorned with long fake nails being waved in his face. Huh? Huh? You're Junko, right? Hey, why do you sound so unsure? I'm a little shocked to hear you say that. Despite what she said, Junko Enoshima, the ultimate fashionista, was laughing as if she had found this all very amusing. Makoto looked around and realized he'd never seen this place before. It looked somewhat like a hospital. 3 beds, including his own, were lined up in the room, with various medical instruments laid around them. The black ceiling felt strangely oppressive, but as he sat up, Makoto's mind immediately centered on one possibility. Where are we? Did we get rescued? That'd be nice, huh? She replied as she looked away. Junko explained that this was the nurse's office on the first floor of the academy. That Monokuma thing said, I can't bear to see my precious students getting sick and open this place up this morning. But don't you think it's suspicious? What if all these meds are poison? To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. Makoto remembered his encounter with the escape button and let out a small sigh. So why am I here, Junko? You should thank Sayaka for that. She was here the whole night taking care of you. She was? Junko ignored Makoto's surprise and continued casually talking. But then Taka got all fired up and was like, we should take turns watching over him. I just happened to be on duty when you woke up. Well, and even then, only because Byakuya ditched. I see, thanks. Like I said, you should thank Sayaka. Anyway, how are you feeling? Is everything alright? Huh? Makoto thought about it for a moment and remembered what he had been thinking about just before he lost consciousness. This is kind of weird, but... Actually, it's a really weird question, but... What's up? Junko. We've never met each other before, right?
Oh.
Upon hearing this, Junko's eyes widened, but a few seconds later she began to laugh. Huh? Are you for real? That pickup line is like so totally played out, you know? Even though she was grinning, a serious look came over her face. Just so you know, you shouldn't expect anything like that from me. I know I look this way, but I take my virtue pretty seriously.
Oh.
No, I mean, I never expected... Well, that's what I figured. It's obvious that you're a total Omega male anyway.
Damn.
Makoto and Junko continued to talk to one another. Although he wondered why Junko was talking to him instead of leaving to get the others, Makoto didn't question it. He just wanted to talk to someone, anyone. As long as he interacted with his fellow students, he believed he would learn the truth about what was going on inside his head. 10 minutes later, Junko mostly talked about alpha males and omega males, her time being homeless, and about her past and her dreams for the future. That last topic was a lot heavier than the previous ones, but Makoto's calm demeanor seemed to cheer her up. She smiled sincerely and said softly, "Thanks, Makoto." Maybe it was a sign of gratitude for listening to her troubles, but she kept the same smile as she blurted out something horrifying. In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. Don't say scary stuff like that. At least that's what Makoto thought, but the words that came out of his mouth expressed a different sentiment. I see, thanks. But I wouldn't want you to become the Blackened in the first place. For some reason, Makoto felt like the murderous words that came out of Junko's mouth seemed like a natural thing for her to say. She seemed very surprised by Makoto's response and quickly blurted out, "Huh? Are you serious? I was just kidding." Huh? Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry for acting so weird. No worries. Let's just chalk this up to you being woozy from your recovery. She returned to her usual bubbly self, let out a big stretch, and turned to Makoto. I'm gonna get going now. Make sure you don't get killed before the next person arrives. After seeing her off, Makoto laid back down in the bed and started thinking to himself, what is this strange feeling? His dull headache continued as his thoughts began to blur. I was just talking to Junko, but I feel like I was talking to someone else. Who is she? The more he thought, the more it felt like his memories were sinking into a thick swamp. Each throb of pain pulsing in his head felt like a wave on the surface of that swamp. What is this feeling? It felt very unpleasant, as though someone's voice was screaming at him from inside his head. Makoto tried to organize his thoughts and go over everything that happened to him, but he was interrupted by the sound of a bell. Unlike the dorm rooms, the nurse's office didn't have a doorbell. bell sound that Makoto heard was ringing throughout the entire building. Ahem, ahem. Testing, testing. Mic check, 1, 2. This is a test of the school broadcast system. It was Monokuma's voice. Now that Makoto has finally woken up, please assemble at the gym. Makoto listened to Monokuma's heartless order and got out of bed without complaining. I have to go. He walked one step at a time in accordance with the rhythm of his throbbing headache. Slowly, slowly he walked for it, not knowing where he was headed was heaven or hell. Makoto, are you alright? Sayaka ran over as soon as he entered the gym. Yeah, thanks. Sorry about yesterday. I guess I really worried you. Please don't apologize. I'm sorry too. I barged into your room when you weren't feeling well. Now that you mention it, said Makoto, what happened yesterday? Sayaka looked away for a brief moment, but immediately turned back, smiled her pop sensation smile, and shook her head. Ah, it's nothing. I'll tell you some other time. Yeah, that was her fucking, playing to fucking frame him and kill somebody.
Yup.
Just didn't work because he was fucking sick and passed the fuck out. Huh? While they were talking, Kiyotaka Ishimaru, the ultimate moral compass, stepped forward, pointing an accusatory finger at Makoto. You're late, Makoto! Explain why you were tardy! The other students collectively raised their eyebrows as if they were thinking, why is this guy yelling at someone who is sick? However, Makoto just smiled gently and answered him honestly. I didn't feel well. Well, so I was resting in the nurse's office. Can you note that in the daily logbook? I see! That's consistent with my information. If that's the case, then I should consider this matter settled. The conversation progressed smoothly, and Taka smiled as he kept talking. Ha ha ha! I'll take full responsibility for recording it. You just focus on recovery. If you ever feel ill, please report to the health committee. It seems we'll need to appoint health committee members after this meeting, though.
Ishimaru. Oh,
Taka
man.
walked away, mumbling to himself as he opened a daily logbook he found in the Academy supply room. Celestia Ludenberg, the ultimate gambler, saw the whole conversation and walked up to Makoto. Despite his unreasonable behavior, you knew exactly what to say to him. Huh? As soon as Celeste said that, it dawned on Makoto. It's true that he didn't feel well and that he had been resting in a nurse's. But when Taka asked him why he was late, even though he should have already known the reason, Makoto didn't feel annoyed or disappointed at all. It was as if he expected Taka to say that. Makoto felt strange that he accepted Taka's personality so quickly. He couldn't understand why he asked Taka to do something as unnecessary as recording it in the daily logbook in the first place. Why did I say that? It's like I was used to it. His response to Taka's demands came as naturally to him as breathing. Why? Why? Every time he tried to think about it, his headache grew even worse. As Makoto struggled to think through the pain of his headaches, a black and white stuffed animal jumped out from behind the gym's podium and began twirling around as it spoke in a cheerful voice. Hey guys, is everyone here? He sounded like he was about to lead the students on a field trip, but not a single one of them had a smile on their faces. What is it this time? Are we gonna hijack a cruise ship and run into a gigantic worm? Of course, there was one exception. Yasuhiro Hagakure, the ultimate clairvoyant, still believed that their current situation was some kind of planned event. Monokuma just ignored him and continued to address the students with his adorable voice. Today, I'm going to tell you about our wonderful academy system. System sure sounds like a great word, don't you think? It just reeks of danger, just like a bear! I want you all to trample over the deaths of your friends and grow up to have hardened hearts. It's good to be a little naughty. I want you all to grow poisonous personality. After making his nonsensical introduction, Monokuma moved on to the next topic. With this, he began providing a detailed explanation of the most vile system in the school, the class drive. Now, you can't just kill someone. You gotta kill someone without anyone else finding out you did it. Monokuma talked about his horrible graduation program with casual indifference. But because the killing hadn't happened yet, his lecture didn't instill any despair in the students. As long as a killing never occurred, there'd be no point to the class trial. But no one could really say that a killing wasn't going to happen. As the students' suspicions began to rise, Monokuma continued explaining the class trial until... Wait, hold on a second! As Monokuma began to explain the executions that would serve as punishment, one girl stepped forward.
Oh dear.
Junko? As soon as he saw how angry she was, the rhythm of Makoto's headache began to change slightly. You're freaking insane, you know that? Hmm? The girl continued to complain angrily. She seemed completely different from the smiling person Makoto saw in the nurse's office. Huh? Was Junko always like that? No, she's different. That's how Junko acts, but... Is that person really Junko?
Oh.
Huh? Wait, what am I thinking? As Makoto struggled with his headache and confusion, Monokuma and the girl continued to argue. What? Are you saying you're not going to participate in the trial? Only punishment awaits such blasphemy. What? Punishment? I don't know, throw you in a deep, dark, scary prison or something. Different. The strange feeling he felt was now directed at Monokuma. A prison? No, they aren't that kind. A series of images flashed in Makoto's mind, and at first he thought it was some kind of parade, but he quickly realized that was a mistake. What looked like lights were actually buildings engulfed in flames. The red decorating the scene seemed to have come from human bodies. Despair. It wasn't confined to the academy or even to Japan. Images of worldwide death and destruction flooded Makoto's brain with every throb of his headache. I've seen this before? Besides the indescribable violence taking place in all these images, there was one thing they had in common. Who are they? They're rampaging terrorists wearing black and white masks were wreaking havoc in these images. They took everything: money, valuables, lives, family, dignity, the past, the future, and possibly even hope. The mask these terrorists were wearing perfectly resembled the face of the stuffed animal arguing with the student before him.
Damn.
Shut the hell up. Say whatever you want. I'm not going to be a part of this. Don't be so selfish. You're the one being selfish. Kill whoever you want. It's got nothing to do with me. The evil standing before me. I'm trembling with fear. But I won't give in to such evil. It's my style to stick it out and resist till the very end. If you really want to get out of here, you'll have to go through me first. Monokuma swung his arms wildly as he charged at the girl with waddling steps. But the girl stomped on the self-proclaimed headmaster of the academy with ease. Are you enjoying yourself now? Pinned beneath the girl's foot, Monokuma looked up into the girl's cold eyes and calmly asked, Are you? Huh? Violence at
On God.
Monokuma is not allowed! You violated a school regulation! At that moment, a chill ran down Makoto's spine. She's going to get killed. Monokuma's words sounded very threatening to him. It wasn't a prediction or a guess. It was as if he knew the danger Monokuma posed from the start. If this continues, Junko's going to... His mind still didn't fully grasp the situation unfolding in front of him. By the time he realized he was about to remember something, he was already running forward. Junko? The impact of his feet combined with the rhythm of his headache, sending his brain and heart into a panic. No, she's different. She's... I invoke the mighty summon spell! Help to me, godly spear, Gungnir! Monokuma wiggled beneath the girl's foot and let out a scream. At that exact moment, Makoto charged at her and screamed out, Mukuro! Watch out! Huh?
Oh! Okay.
The girl dressed as Junko Inoshima widened her eyes in shock. As if to evade the charging Makoto, she jumped back with agility unheard of in a teenage high school girl. And then Right at that moment, countless spears pierced the spot where she had been standing just a split second ago. All the students, including the girl, stared wide-eyed at this sudden turn of events. Spears, too many of them to count, had shot out with blinding speed from mechanisms installed in the floor and the walls of the gym. However, Makoto was unable to notice this. Huh? Why did I call Junko Mukuro? Mukuro? As the thought entered his mind, a sharp, sudden impact struck his side, followed by an intense, deathly pain that ran down his spine and spread throughout his entire body.
Oh
The
no.
spear stabbed into his side instantly tore his flesh to shreds and shot out of his back, coated in blood and other bodily fluids. At that moment, the black fog that had engulfed Makoto's mind was consumed by death itself. And as his consciousness slowly faded, he remembered everything. Because of the electric jolt and the chemical compound from the escape button, because of that button he had found by chance, Makoto Naegi managed to escape. He escaped this hopeless game where he and his fellow students had their memories stolen and were forced to kill each other. Of course, that escape is also what led him to his current life or death predicament. In the end, perhaps he only escaped from one despair to fall into another. But at the same time, his actions had unintended consequences for one person. The girl living a false identity as her beloved little sister Junko Enoshima. Mukuro Ikusaba, the ultimate soldier and a member of Ultimate Despair. Her past, her future, perhaps even her hope itself are on the path to despair. And so the curtain falls on Makoto's story now. From this point, this story is about a certain girl. A girl who's more pitiful than anyone else in the sealed off academy. A new curtain, along with new despair, shall now rise. Huh? Time had certainly stopped for Mukuro Ikusaba. It was as if everything around her had frozen perfectly still. In the past, she was known as the Ultimate Soldier. She had experienced this feeling before during her time with the mercenary group Fenrir. In situations where she was surrounded by a hopeless number of enemies within the jungle or in a desert ruin, the charging enemies seemed as though they were frozen in time, which allowed her to claim a decisive victory in all her battles. But this wasn't a battlefield, so why did this familiar sensation activate once again? In order to understand what had happened, Mukuro slowly tried to assess the current situation from within this frozen world. Junko and Mukuro are both children of despair. But Junko Enoshima, the true ultimate despair, harbors a far deeper darkness within her. Though their last names are different, Mukuro is Junko's older sister, connected by the bonds of blood. She cooperated with Junko's hopeless plan and impersonated her under the pretense of participating in the killing game alongside her classmates. According to the plan, Mukuro, who was supposed to oppose Monokuma, who her sister was controlling, and be locked in a dungeon as punishment. Isolated from the others, she would then escape from the dungeon and perform various acts intended to deprive the students of hope. That was the role she had been assigned. When Makoto succumbed to his headache, Junko ordered her to see if the shock had caused him to remember anything that could make him a liability. He woke up as she was tending to him, so she made small talk with him, but she didn't notice anything change in his behavior. Until this point, she was certain that there shouldn't be any problem. Nothing could possibly go wrong. She stomped on Monokuma like her sister ordered her to do, and flawlessly spoke the lines she was taught to memorize. Afterwards, she would fall through a trapdoor into the dungeon and remain isolated from the other students.
Holy fucking shit!
She hadn't done anything wrong. There were no problems. There were no problems. She repeated that to herself over and over like a silent prayer. But in that frozen moment of time, what she saw was not a trapdoor, but countless spears. One of them had skewered Makoto through his side. Why? Makoto? Why are there spears? Gungnir? I would have died if I hadn't moved. Did Junko mess up the plan? No, Junko would never mess up. Was she trying to kill me? Me? Makoto saved me? Why? Why did he say my name? Did his memories come back? Did I not realize that? Did I make a mistake? Is that why Junko got angry? Is this punishment? Is it my fault? Junko tried to kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Slowly, time came back to her world. Mukuro could feel her face turning pale as she slowly looked toward Makoto. The students' screams rang through the gym. Sayaka was probably the first one to scream. But who screamed first didn't matter to Mukuro. Makoto. Why? Makoto was the ultimate lucky student. He had been her classmate for the past 2 years, and now he was a sacrifice to despair. Not long ago, he had given her an answer of sorts during their conversation in the nurse's office. He was just a pawn in the plan her sister had devised. But now a feeling of doubt began forming in Mukuro's mind. What did I want from Makoto? As her heart churned restlessly, she continued to think. In return, I promised that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. Was I impersonating Junko then? Or did I really mean that? When did I start feeling this doubt? Just now, the moment he saved me? Or when we spoke in the nurse's office earlier? Or when I first confronted him about this killing game before his memories returned? Or was it before even that? Mukuro stood there confused and overwhelmed as Makoto slowly opened his eyes, the spear still impaling him through the side. Mukuro? Makoto, are you okay? Mukuro was no longer impersonating the ultimate fashionista.
Are you okay? What the fuck kind of question is that right now?
Looking up from the floor of the gym, Makoto asked, are you dressed up like Junko? He was smiling.
Holy shit, though.
Maybe he couldn't feel the pain anymore, or maybe he was being affected by something else. But regardless, Makoto ignored the fact that he was dying just to give Mukuro his warm smile. I'm glad you're safe, Mukuro. As soon as she heard Makoto's weak, fading voice, something inside Mukuro snapped. From within the shell of despair she had built up, an intense emotion began flowing out. No, this is all wrong. She couldn't hold back that emotion any longer. No. And for the first time in her entire life, Mukuro unleashed a scream into the world. As Mukuro fell to her knees and clutched her head, a small shadow started walking toward her back. The stuffed animal that had been under her foot, Monokuma. His claws were extended and he was no longer walking. Instead, he moved like a beast, silently stalking its prey as he slowly advanced within his target's blind spot. As he inched closer to Mukuro, Monokuma raised his razor-sharp claws, crouched on his haunches, and suddenly leapt toward the back of her neck. However, just before those claws could reach the paralyzed Mukuro, a dark shadow moved in from the side and swatted those claws away with one blow. His lunge deflected, Monokuma was sent flying through the air, spinning wildly before crashing into the wall.
Kick his ass.
Damn you.
Get him!
Damn you! What are you trying to do? Oh, never mind, that's Sakura. Sakura Ogami, the ultimate martial artist, had just prevented another tragedy. She stood before Monokuma and addressed him in a loud, booming voice. Not only did you attempt to kill Junko for violating school regulations, you even attacked Makoto, who had nothing to do with it. If you plan to continue acting in such a savage manner, there's no reason for us to play along with your game. Yakuya Togami, the ultimate affluent progeny, smirked condescendingly at Sakura.
Okay.
Of course.
One could say you've now violated school regulations with your senseless actions. He looked as if he honestly did not care if his fellow students lived or died at all. Well, she merely deflected the headmaster's attack just now, so I do not think it truly counts as an act of violence. Like Byakuya, Celeste seemed unfazed as she chided him over his words. However, the banter between the two was enough to stir the stunned students to action. Makoto! Sayaka was the first to run toward Makoto, who lay bleeding from the stomach. But Monokuma stopped her, shouting in a tone of voice that seemed completely out of character. Be careful, don't get too close to those two. Huh? Startled by Monokuma's desperate tone, Sayaka and the others stopped moving almost instinctively. The students looked around at each other. Instead of his usual playful gait, whatever, Monokuma walked toward them with deliberate, methodical steps. And then he suddenly blurted out something that took everyone, including Mukuro Ikusaba, by surprise. I'm sure you're probably confused by this sudden turn of events, but I want you guys to work together.
What the fuck?
As Mukuro slowly turned her head toward Monokuma, he pointed at her and yelled, Mukuro Ikusaba and her accomplice, Makoto Naegi, are the terrorists responsible for killing you all inside the academy. Once again, time stopped for Mukuro, but this time she wasn't the only one affected. Everyone seemed to be frozen in shock. After a few seconds of silence, Aoi Asahina, the ultimate swimming pro, spoke first. Huh? You're kidding, right? I mean, Makoto is a terrorist? That's impossible. And who's Mukuro anyway? I mean, that's Junko. Monokuma began slowly explaining to Aoi. The real Junko must be in prison somewhere in the school. Worst case scenario, she might be killed. Mukuro must have researched which one of you would be easiest for her to impersonate and hid among you all by pretending to be her.
Wow!
She was probably trying to make sure the killing game went smoothly. Suddenly, Monokuma's hands and feet began jerking in an awkward motion as he looked at the other students and introduced himself. I'm Bishiki Madarai, the ultimate hacker. I'm your upperclassman. I hacked into the academy from the outside, and I was finally able to take control of Monokuma's body just a little while ago. Take control? From who? From the head of the terrorist organization, this robot from the outside. What? What are you saying, Junko? Mukuro trembled as she heard the words coming out of Monokuma's mouth. For a brief moment, she clung to the hope that her sister wasn't trying to kill her, but as soon as that hope was born, it was immediately consumed by despair. Junko had the power to transform hope into despair. She would never let anyone hack her that easily. There was only one explanation. Junko Enoshima was pretending to be someone named Bishiki in order to frame Mukuro and Makoto. It was as though Junko was using Mukuro's survival as a branching path to lead the students to a different despair. Monokuma continued talking, telling the students more lies designed to prod them into action. On your first day at Hope Speak Academy, you guys were exposed to sleeping gas, knocked unconscious, and taken hostage. Mukuro and Makoto are probably the only operatives that the terrorists sit inside the school. That means they probably know how to escape from here.
Wow!
And then Monokuma turned to face Mukuro. Mukuro Ikusaba was a member of a mercenary group called Fenrir. She's a wanted criminal who's killed over 10 people associated with the school. So don't get soft and think you can capture her alive. In fact, that's exactly what the cops told me. So the moment I saw an opening, I tried hacking the trap they set and tried to kill her. But what about Makoto? Monokuma gave a cold, emotionless answer to Sayaka's question. My guess is that measly little ultimate lucky student didn't stand a chance of defying a group like Fenrir. He was probably threatened and forced to cooperate before you entered the school, or judging from his earlier actions, maybe Mukuro seduced him.
Wow!
Sayaka's face went pale when she heard that answer, and she immediately stopped talking. Mukuro raised her head and shouted, "You're wrong! Makoto isn't a terrorist! You all have to believe me!" The whole gym fell silent, and then, as if he was speaking for everyone there, Taka stepped forward and nervously asked, "Hold on, what do you mean Makoto isn't a terrorist?" It sounds like you're saying that there's no doubt that you, in fact, are a terrorist.
Oops.
I ask that you correct yourself at once and say, "We are not terrorists." Celeste began expressing her own doubts as well. It is strange. Does it not seem odd that she is so protective of someone we all just met a few days ago? Mukuro stood in silence. The other students' faces began to fill with suspicion and doubt as they realized they weren't looking at the real Junko Inoshima. Byakuya pushed up his glass. Wow, that typo! Glass. Coldly pointing out what seemed out of place to him. I heard that fool Makoto, or whatever his name is, call you Mukuro instead of Junko. How would Makoto know that your name is really Mukuro if he just met you not that long ago? That's... I've also heard of Fenrir, continued Byakuya. As I recall, its members have a tattoo somewhere on their body. Instinctively, Byakuya's words put Mukuro into a calm state of mind. In hostile situations, her defensive reflexes as the ultimate soldier often manifested themselves. Mukuro's tattoo was on the back of her right hand. She wondered how she could hide this from the other students without also calling attention to it. But in the end, this concern was in vain. If the police's records are true, she should have a tattoo on the back of her right hand, as Monokuma freely divulged that information. Alright, cried Taka, his voice filled with enthusiasm. Show us the back of your right hand and prove your innocence! Monokuma dispensed another unnecessary remark. Make sure you look real close. She might have covered it up with foundation.
Oh my god.
Junko had ordered Mukuro to hide her tattoo with foundation, so Monokuma's information was entirely true. There was nothing Mukuro could do except stay quiet. However, she wasn't staying quiet because her identity was about to be exposed. She was struck by the realization that her sister was completely serious about pinning this on her. Why the hesitation? Shouted the foolishly honest Taka. As my classmate, I have complete faith in you.
Oh
Behind him,
jeez.
Hifumi Yamada, the ultimate fanfic creator, murmured to himself as cold sweat ran down his cheeks. Well, look at that. I guess that's what they call checkmate, huh? Why don't you just fess up already, you fucking bastard? In contrast to Hifumi, Mondo Awada, the ultimate biker gang leader, was royally pissed. However, there were some students who were busy questioning Monokuma instead of Mukuro. Hey, you're not coming to save us? Shouted Leon Kuwata, the ultimate baseball star. You should hurry up and charge in here already. Monokuma looked at Leon and shook his head softly. The police can't help you right now. Not only are you guys hostages, it's possible the entire school has been briefed with explosives and poisonous gas. I hacked into this Monokuma robot to investigate that for myself. Then what about everyone on that DVD? What about everyone outside the school? Asked Sayaka. The memory of the DVD she was forced to watch yesterday still weighed heavily on her mind, but Monokuma didn't have a clear answer. I don't know anything about any DVDs, but there are definitely terrorists causing havoc out here. Law enforcement around the world is in shambles trying to deal with this. That's impossible. Sayaka shuddered and collapsed to her knees. Sayaka. Next to her, Chihiro Fujisaki, the ultimate programmer, was unsure about what she should do. Behind her, two other girls stood silent. The first was Toko Fukawa, the ultimate writing prodigy. She seemed to be trying very hard not to look at Makoto as he lay bleeding. The other was a quiet girl who hadn't talked about herself much, named Kyoko Kirigiri.
Oh
Unlike
shit.
Toko, Kyoko was watching everything intently, as if she were studying the scene of a crime. From Makoto's breathing patterns to subtle changes in Mukuro's facial expression, nothing was escaping her attention. Suddenly, Toko began nervously talking to Sakura. So anyway, let's just say that Mukuro woman or whoever over there is a terrorist. Hurry up and beat her to death or something. We don't know that yet, said Sakura. My fists do not out justice based on simple speculation. Sakura tried to get near Makoto to examine his wounds, but Monokuma stood in her way, shouting, "Don't come any closer!" This meant that Mukuro was the only one who could get close to Makoto. She had ended countless lives on the battlefield, she knew from experience. If she didn't treat Makoto's wounds, he would die. His wounds were not immediately fatal, but if he continued losing blood, he would eventually slip into shock and die shortly thereafter. Please, you need to treat Makoto first. Absolutely not, said Byakuya, harshly interrupting Makoto. Tying you up and examining the back of your right hand is our first priority. Hey, Makoto's in danger. Now's not the time for that, said Aoi as she cast a worried glance at Makoto. She was still having trouble understanding the situation and hadn't decided if Makoto was suspicious or not. Byakuya was about to snap back at her, but Mukuro's action stunned him into silence. She took a deep breath, and then Mukuro removed the blonde wig from her.
Oh,
Where there were two
oh!
long blonde pigtails only a moment before, there was now short black hair.
What?
She cleared her face of all emotion, and when she spoke, her voice rang throughout the gym. I'm not Junko Enoshima. My name is Mukuro Ikusaba. The student stared wide-eyed at her open confession. All she did was remove her wig and clear her emotions, but in doing so, the person the students had recognized as Junko Enoshima vanished from their sight. The terrorist that had taken her place continued to speak in a calm, stoic tone. I helped lock everyone inside this academy. The confession on Seaside Cliff moment has finally arrived, Hifumi blurted out. Whoa, 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 whoa! Wigs are against school regulations, Junko! I mean, Mukuro! Shouted Taka. As if stirred by their cries of excitement, the other students became clamoring around among themselves. Huh? Said Yasuhira. So Makoto's wounds are like real? Does
Oh
that
my
mean that
god,
stuff about
dude.
terrorists and whatever is all real too? So everything that's happened these past few days wasn't a bunch of staged events? As the reality of the situation began dawning on Yasuhiro, all Leon could say to him was, "Shut the hell up!"
Wow, I can't believe Leon did something to make me like him.
Byakuya just remained calm and addressed Mukuro in a condescending manner. What does your group want? If you were after money, you would have already tried to negotiate with me. Of course, I'd rather let them die than surrender to your ransom demands.
Jesus.
Our purpose is to fill the world with despair. Byakuya scoffed at this notion and began to speak once again. I see. Monokuma said something similar, so that ideology is what fuels your terrorism. It's true, if you did anything to me, you would certainly fill the world with despair. But obviously that would be impossible for you. Aoi couldn't believe what Byakuya was saying, and frowned as she muttered, "How self-centered can you be?" After confirming that Byakuya had no more questions for her, Mukuro looked at Makoto, whose breathing had slowed, and let her voice show some emotion. But Makoto has nothing to do with this. You can't believe what Monokuma says. What did you say, bitch? Shouted Mondo. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a terrorist, just like Monokuma said. Mukuro looked away from Mondo and continued speaking. That's true, but Makoto isn't involved at all. Celeste coldly brushed her objection aside. I do not think trying to protect him will do you any good. After all, we all heard Makoto call you by your real name. That's... She had no words. There was nothing she could say to protect Makoto, even though Makoto was truly innocent. Though Mukuro was the ultimate soldier, her powers were largely limited to battle. Even a normal high school student could outwit her when it comes to debate and negotiation. If she were the ultimate
Damn.
negotiator, she might be able to convince them that their memories had really been erased. But in her current situation, if she tried to bring up their memory loss, they would think it was a desperate excuse. Even Mukuro knew that. But even if she didn't know what to say, she still knew what to do. Right now, we need to treat Makoto first. And then she started walking toward Makoto as if nothing happened. To the others, it seemed like Mukuro had decided to abruptly change the subject. Hold it. We will immediately take Makoto to the nurse's office for treatment. However, we must tie you up. This was Sakura's honest demand. But there was no way Mukuro could accept it. If she was separated from Makoto, there'd be no telling what Monokuma would do to him. And between Mondo's hot temper and Byakuya's cold heart, Makoto could easily sustain further injuries under the pretense of interrogation. Furthermore, among these students, Mukuro knew she was the only one who had experienced treating wounds due to her time with Finri. After mulling that over, she narrowed her eyes and went silent. Her mind was made up. She was determined to fight her way out of here and escape with Makoto.
Oh
I
shit!
apologize, but I need you to fall asleep right now. And she said that Sakura instantly positioned herself behind Mukuro. She was completely within her blind spot. To a normal person, it would have seemed like Sakura had suddenly vanished. After moving faster than any human being could see, Sakura's equally fast hands launched a blow toward the back of Mukuro's neck. However, sorry Sakura, but I need to get out of here. Mukuro parried Sakura's fist with a spinning roundhouse kick.
Yo.
Sakura raised an eyebrow at the
Oh,
unexpected
excuse me!
counterattack. Mukuro tried to use the momentum of her kick to sweep Sakura's feet out from under her. However, Sakura dodged and instinctively struck back against Mukuro's pivot leg. But Mukuro was faster and jumped up, aiming a tornado kick at Sakura's chin.
What? This just became like a battle series now?
Sakura
Tornado
deflected
kick?
the attack with one arm, and then both combatants leapt backwards, glared, and charged simultaneously. Every blow they dealt was parried and countered by the other, and though they were both unarmed, the sound of their battle echoed throughout the gym. It was like a typhoon had been compressed into the size of a car and let loose inside the gym. The other students were powerless to stop them. All they could do was stare at the breathtaking dance of death unfolding before them. After 10 minutes had passed, the enormous sound of one final impact rang throughout
10
the gym.
minutes.
10
Makoto's
minutes!
fucking
What
dead
the
now.
heck?
They were throwing hands for 10 minutes, dude.
Makoto's probably dead in the time they took fighting. Jesus.
Bro, like honestly!
The warriors leapt back once again and breathed heavily as they stared each other down. My mistake. Though it's only been a few days, I cannot believe I did not notice such an impressive fighter was hiding among us. In addition to
Jesus,
the
she's
surprise,
broken like this?
in addition to the surprise Sakura felt, it was if the battle had left her energized. Mukuro, on the other hand, looked down at her arm, confirmed it had been wounded during the battle, and thought to herself, "She's strong. I don't think Sakura is even taking this seriously right now." Despite being constantly surrounded by firearms, blades, traps, and explosives during her time with Finru, this was the first time she had ever been wounded. Mukuro was now powerless before the might of the woman known as the ultimate martial artist, and the strongest woman in the world. Just as I thought, I can't beat Sakura with my bare hands alone. If she had been directly ordered to kill Sakura, Mukuro would have opted to either snipe her from a distance or poison her. At this close range, she would need an assault rifle just to stand a fighting chance. I don't have time for
I
this.
feel like she could do pretty well with a pistol, but alright.
She looked at Makoto and confirmed that his breathing had grown even shallower. I need to hurry. But at that moment, she had no one to turn to for help. Suddenly, Mukuro had an idea. It was true that gaining an ally in this situation was impossible. However, she could still turn one person into her enemy's enemy. Mukuro took a deep breath before she charged at Sakura. Then she immediately fainted and charged at a different girl, Toko, who had been cowering in fear from the battle between Sakura and Mukuro in the corner of the gym. This is bad. Sakura was caught off guard and tried to run after her, but Mukuro was one step ahead and reached Toko first. Huh? Why me? I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. Mukuro jabbed at Toko in her solar plexus and she fell into her arms. Taka and Aoi yelled out in shock. This is bad! She plans to use Toko as a hostage! Toko! In contrast to their shocked faces, Byakuya just snickered and coldly remarked, "You fool. Do you really think we care if you take someone we just met a few days ago as your hostage?"
Huh. God damn it, Byakuya.
Mukuro just softly glanced at Byakuya and replied, "You didn't meet her a few days ago." What did you say? You met her 2 years ago.
Oh,
scowled.
shit.
Mukuro ignored him and held her bloody arm in front of Toko's face. And then she yelled into her ears, "Wake up, Genocide Jack!" It seems so random and out of place. Why would Mukuro mention the name of a notorious serial killer right now? The students looked at each other with confusion when suddenly, Toko, who had been groaning in pain, suddenly kicked off the floor of the gym with renewed vigor. She leapt into the air much higher than any normal human should have been able to. While hovering several meters in the air, Toko twirled faster than a professional figure skater. This caused her skirt to flutter, revealing multiple pairs of sparkling scissors. Countless tally marks were scratched into her legs, like a kill count carved into a fighter jet. If not,
Holy crap!
Toko's glamorous jumps and spins would have been a sight to behold. The girl formerly known as Toko Fukawa cackled wildly, her red eyes sparkling as her absurdly long tongue flopped out of her mouth. You called for me, and so I appear. I'm gonna murder IOU for you. It's for YOU. The situation had changed so drastically that even Sayaka, who was silent until spoke up. Hey, you flash in the pan. Don't treat Genocide Jack like that depressing little four eyes. That dirty girl doesn't even bathe herself at all, so I gotta put in 5 times the effort to rub myself down in the shower.
Wait, you're telling me that Jack is the more cleanly of the two?
Of course, I mean, that makes sense.
Toko's sudden change of personality sent students clamoring among themselves. Hey, Leon yelled. What the hell does that mean? Monokuma just shook his head. There are some things even I don't understand. The students continued to panic at the strange turn of events. Toko, now calling herself Genocide Jack, took a set of scissors from under her skirt and snipped them with glee as she looked around the gym. Huh? Man, it's been a while since I got to stretch my legs. So what were you guys gonna do here at the gym while I was snoozing away? Have an orgy?
Oh my lord.
I understand. I totally understand. You guys need me to cut up your clothes so you can feel even naughtier. Yeah, right. Why the hell would I do that for you dumbasses? My scissors are only meant for cutting the supple, tender flesh of adorable boys.
That's a sentence. Holy shit.
Genocide Jack was causing a ruckus, but when she saw Makoto laying on the floor, she tilted her head once again. Huh?
What?
Big Mac, you're like totally about to die. What's the deal? Did the world fill you with so much despair that you all came here to commit mass suicide? That's so hot! But why are you starting without me? Toko?
I like that apparently we've now just established that Big Mac was actually Makoto's nickname, like,
From way
Oh
earlier.
yeah, Big Mac, dude. But she knew all of them beforehand.
right.
That's the wild part. It's just showing me that she knew a lot.
The other students knew that she was Genocide Jack at some point?
Dude, the whole
Or maybe just the Genocide Jack personality knew them.
dude, and
Yeah,
some
the
of,
Genocide Jack personality probably knew them all for like a multitude of years. You remember, like, they don't share memories, so like Genocide Jack
At some
never
point in time.
forgot them, ever.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, is that it means that at some point Genocide Jack had met the other students as
Remember-
Jack.
Sure she
you,
did.
you remember in the last case trial when they were showing off the photos? In some of those photos, she is Genocide Jack.
Yeah, she is jacking with some of those.
That's so fucked up. That means that they would know that the ultimate serial killer was just at school with them.
Yeah, but she's cool.
Maybe she kept low profile,
fine.
but
Genocide Jack
Who
ignored
knows?
Aoi and let her emotions run unchecked, jumping and dancing with excitement as she held her scissors. Ah, jeez. I wanted to stab Big Mac's side myself. This spot right here, where the ribs are kind of showing already.
oh my god!
He's not even screaming right now, though. What does that mean? Oh well, maybe I can just get used to this feeling of alienation instead. Haha. I
Oh
have
my
no idea
god!
what's going on anymore, shouted the hero. This is all the aliens' fault. You also hear him put his head into his arms, but no one was paying attention to him. The students' attention was entirely focused on Genocide Jack. Using that to her advantage, Mukuro began sneaking over to Makoto. As she cautiously picked him up, she confirmed that his body temperature was starting to decrease.
Oh
I can
shit!
still make it there in time. Though she
Someone
was carrying
save the
another
boy.
person, Mukuro managed to soften the sounds of her footsteps as she ran for the gym's doors. By the time the students had heard Mukuro open the door, it was already too late. She had managed to escape the gym with Makoto. However, not
Dude.
everyone
Jack was that big of a
unaware.
distraction.
Dude, I mean, it's
I mean, honestly though,
if Genocide
with
Jack
that
suddenly
opening?
appeared in the gym, like fucking pulled out from fucking
If
scissors,
wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man suddenly
Yeah, but
showed up in your gym.
Enough of a distraction to have not a single one of them notice that, like, the person
However,
was
not
trying to-
everyone was unaware of what Mukuro was doing. Monokuma saw her movements out the corner of his eye, but chose not to tell the students. and one other person, Kyoko Kirigiri.
Of
Thought
course.
Mukuro carried Makoto away, but did not inform the others as she watched them leave in silence. As everyone wrestled with their own personal thoughts and speculations, Ho's Peak Academy began walking a path toward a completely different chaos.
This is actually already really entertaining.
Oh yeah, no,
It's just super weird.
Really good story. Like, with Makoto on her back, Mukuro took several trophies from the gym entrance hall, and after passing through the door leading to the hall, she jammed the trophies through the door handles. Though Sakura could easily destroy these makeshift blocks, they should buy Mukuro an extra few seconds. Then Mukuro started running to the nurse's office.
Sakura
place she
is a
last
fucking
spoke
monster.
Dude, Sakura is just straight up like the Black Knight in Fire Emblem, just like
Yeah. Everything around necessary for first aid can be found.
just slow walk and slap the shit out of everything.
Her fellow Ultimate students were her enemy. Her only ally right now was Makoto, who was on the verge of death.
Was this dead
Mukuro
guy?
Mukuro knew that even she was her own ally. Even she wasn't her own ally right now. Amidst all this chaos, amidst her sister's betrayal and nearly being killed, she believed. She believed she was the only one who truly understood her little sister. That's why she felt like she had to protect her. That's right. You didn't do anything wrong, Junko. You just wanted to feel despair, that's all. Right? Because you loved me. That's why you wanted to kill me. You were just trying to feel despair, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I failed to bring you despair. But at the same time, she wondered if she saves Makoto and betrays her sister by disrupting her plan, wouldn't that fill her with an even stronger despair? Wouldn't that make her happy?
Oh no.
Oh shit.
Muko? What should I do? Mukuro closed her eyes and listened to Makoto's weak breaths. What should I do, Makoto? On a battlefield where all you need to do is kill and survive, Mukuro was invincible. She could suppress all her emotions and fully immerse herself in becoming a perfect killing machine. But on this twisted battlefield of daily high school life, she could no longer keep her emotions in check, especially around her little sister. Mukuro, the ultimate soldier, was beginning to question being ultimate despair. The impulses of normal high school girl inside of her were starting to affect her state of mind. Even so, the poor girl continued to run through the dark hallways, clinging to this conflict within herself. She was now walking along a narrow, hair-thin path, a path between the hope of Makoto Naegi and the despair of Junko Inoshima. Meanwhile, everyone still in the gym was left in a state of complete confusion. Toko was famous for being a prolific author, but even though she came across as unsociable and depressing, her mind-blowing transformation seemed to have just tossed all that aside. Toko is Genocide Jack? Sayaka trembled with fear as Jack tilted her head and stuck out her long tongue. Huh? What's with this perception, you guys? You guys didn't know who I was? Have I been found out? Or have you known all along? And why was the sullen samurai dressed like that? That outfit didn't look good on her at all. The sullen samurai was probably referring to Mukuro, which means Toko already knew Mukuro.
The sullen samurai, holy fuck.
Confronted by that shocking truth, the students had no idea where to begin talking. So many things were clearly wrong by this point. But there were a few students, such as Byakuya and Kyoko, who opted to remain calm and observe the situation. Alright, someone better spill. Oh, fucking God! Alright, someone better spill it. Who gave Makoto an extra mouth to feed? I don't care. Slice him. I just can't forgive whoever put that ugly ass hole in Big Mac's side. Toko, no, Genocide Jack, spun her scissors in her hands. As she spoke, her emotions and facial expressions changed. Even without the threat of her scissors, she exuded an aura of danger that made her unapproachable.
No, no.
The flanks think of a young boy like macaroons, like a bluebird that pops out of a golden egg. If you would have just let me handle it, I would have killed him so good that even Taito and Maito would have been eager to die. But poor McCutie's heart and soul have been stomped on by such a sloppy kill.
Yo, why is this character so Why is this character so much fun in this one?
Toko, you're not making any sense. What in the world happened to you? Genocide Jack answered by pointing her scissors at Aoi. What happened to me? I got bored, that's what! That sourpuss locked me up a few days ago, but when she went unconscious, I thought I'd finally get to do my thing. But I woke up for all this, my cutie's soaked with blood, and I've got no clue what's going on. It's all so damn confusing, all I can do is laugh. No one seemed to be able to get a straight answer out of Jack, so Hifumi made a timid remark. I've dealt with girls like this in my 2D dating games,
God.
but this doesn't even compare. It's like there's an triple S difficulty level to clear her. I can't believe you'd even think about her as someone worth clearing, mumbled Leon.
Damn!
Things were going nowhere, and as if she was responding to everyone else's expectations, Sakura stepped forward. She might be in the throes of confusion. I should try to restrain her first. As soon as she heard that, Genocide Jack stopped moving, stuck out her lizard-like tongue, and grinned wickedly. Oh, what's up? Are you really gonna fight me, Battle Ogre? Too bad. My lovely scissors are only for cutting through adorable boys. Women should just stay home. I won't take my scissors with your filthy blood.
Jesus!
Replied Sakura. It seems my words are useless on you. Sakura entered a fighter stance, determined to restrain Jack, but Jack knew she couldn't win in a fair fight and adopted a strange stance of her own. In a normal fight, Jack would obviously lose the ogre, but if Jack focused on dodging attacks, the outcome of the fight would be hard to foresee. Of course, Genocide Jack's physical abilities were only obvious to a few of the students in the first place. The two women exchanged hostile stares as the other students gulped nervously.
We're really just gonna have a whole battle arc, huh?
Except for one person. Kyoko was watching something else. She was watching Monokuma, who was in the corner of the gym, unmoving, as white noise emitted from his speakers. He had stopped moving the moment everyone's attention focused on Sakura and Toko. It's possible that motorized hacking had been disrupted, but an infinite number of other possibilities were also swirling around in Kyoko's mind. She brushed back her hair with a gloved hand and continued to watch. Though she couldn't fully remember her talent, the actions she was taking right now were fueled by pure instinct. The strange situations that kept occurring in front of her were shaking her to her very core. Her mind worked diligently to scoop out countless amounts of information from her vast sea of memories. And as they were synchronizing with the synapses firing in her brain, Sakura and Toko kicked off the ground at the same time, and an intense impact rang throughout the
This fucking battle arc, like what?
Thanks to the heated battle that was unfolding in the gymnasium, Mukuro Ikusaba was able to buy more time than she had imagined. As soon as she entered the nurse's office, she rummaged around for medical supplies and did what she could to stop the bleeding. Though still quite shallow, Makoto's breathing slowly stabilized. Mukuro let out a little sigh of relief. However, even though she was somehow able to stop the bleeding, she wasn't out of the woods yet. Miraculously enough, it seemed like none of Makoto's major arteries or organs were damaged. Was this perhaps thanks to his ultimate luck? Or maybe he wasn't actually all that lucky. After all, the only sort of medical treatment he could hope for was partial at best. Mukuro couldn't decide. If only I could do a blood transfusion. The nurse's office should have had several blood packs for transfusions. Mukuro suspected Makoto's blood type might be written in his e-handbook, but as she reached over to search his pockets, I see you're reaching for a sleepy boy's clothes. What in the world is about to happen next? Adults can keep playing, but you kids better press the B button, okay? Mukuro turned toward that familiar voice and saw Monokuma standing before her. You're all alone with Makoto right now. Just think of me as a cute wild animal and let your lust lead the way.
Jesus. Oh my lord.
As the headmaster, I must prevent any illicit sexual relationships, but physical education classes are just fine, Missy. So he looked just like he looked just like the one that was in the gym. It was clearly a different Monokuma. Multiple Monokumas have been placed throughout the entire academy, so it wasn't a stretch for him to suddenly appear out of nowhere. Regardless, the same person was controlling all of them. Mukuro had been wary of Monokuma attacking her while she was treating Makoto's wounds, but his appearance at this particular moment seemed to take her by surprise. Junko? Asked Mukuro cautiously. Monokuma tilted his head along with his entire upper body inquisitively. Junko? Who's that? Junko? I've never heard of that country before. No more jokes. Answer me, Junko. You were planning to kill me earlier, right? Junko this, Junko that. What's your problem? I'm telling you, I'm Monokuma. You must be a big disappointment if you can't even remember something like that. You're not just a disappointment as a person, you're a disappointment as a sister too. You're too skinny and your brain's nothing but muscles, and your personality is just unbearable. I'm sorry. You didn't need to apologize, but hearing her little sister call her a disappointment yet again was enough to make the ultimate soldier recoil. Monokuma ignored her and her current situation, climbed on top of Makoto's barely breathing body, and began poking his cheeks. So what are you gonna do with Makoto now? I'm really interested in human mating habits, you know. What are you? Asked Mukuro before trailing off. Monokuma lowered his tone and began whispering into her ear. Makoto's a pretty nice guy, huh? He even sacrificed himself to save you. Oh, generous that it's actually hopeless. He's not dead yet, insisted Mukuro. Despite her firm tone, she couldn't hide the fear lingering in her voice. That's the most disappointing thing about you. You can't even say, I won't let him die. I won't let him die, Junko. Mukuro could barely get a word in as Monokuma erupted into poo-hoos and ahahas and continued to torment her.
Poo-hoos and ahahas.
Yeah, the classic.
As if you could do that. Too bad. No regrets. See you tomorrow. Is this all because Makoto was the first person to smile at you? You, a disappointing, depressing, unladylike, inhuman killing machine!
Wow!
Damn.
Stop bullying!
That he was Junko, Monokuma began speaking at length about Mukuro's past. This contradiction was very much like Junko, and Mukuro was so shaken that all she could do was watch the bear prattle on and on.
Kick him.
Only the fit survive in this world. The only thing that kind-hearted people can do is die, you know? As proof, you're gonna watch Makoto die really soon. He won't die. Mukuro's tone of voice had become irregular ever since she took off her Junko wig. Aside from her conversation with Makoto, everything she said as Junko was from a script that her sister had written. But now there was no script for Mukuro to rely on anymore. Mukuro was treating Monokuma like she would treat her own sister. If the other students saw her acting so weak, they'd never believe she was the same person who fought Sakura in the gym. And not just that, if anyone from her mercenary past could see her now, her stark change in attitude might make them think she was someone else entirely. Monokuma continued to rail against Mukuro. Nope, he's gonna die. I know it's sad, but you just have to face the facts. Monokuma wriggled his limbs and danced around, and then pointed right at Mukuro's face. Because Makoto is going to die by your hand.
Uh-oh.
Huh? Infighting among terrorists. The big bad terrorist silences the weak-willed Makoto before he can leak any information. Doesn't that happen all the time? In the end, all the desperate things you said in the gym turned out to be lies you told just to escape. Mukuro frowned at Monokuma. You can't do that, Junko. I won't let you do that. As she blurted out those words in a trembling voice, Mukuro was gripped with confusion about what she had just said. Am I defying Junko right now? Why? It was a strange feeling. To Mukuro, it was like she was standing on the ledge of a tall building and imagining what would happen if she jumped. A destructive feeling akin to holding a friend's baby and wondering what would happen if you tripped and fell. Before she knew it, fear and anxiety had suddenly taken control of Mukuro's life. As a member of Fenrir, and as ultimate despair, Mukuro had killed innumerable people. She had handled live grenades before. She had descended from the sky in a parachute as anti-aircraft weaponry fired all around her. Her heart never wavered on the battlefield, but now it felt like it could collapse at any second. Monokuma, however, was as stable as a tree and slightly tilted his head to the side. Huh? Weren't you listening to my story? I'm not the one who's going to kill Makoto. You are. What are you saying, Junko? Monokuma began giving a strange explanation to a very confused Mukuro. Do you know what the suspension bridge effect really means? It means you push the person you love off a bridge and they'll be yours for eternity.
Uh.
I haven't heard that at all. Life doesn't always follow what your textbooks say. It's sad, but that's what love is. His words made no sense, and Mukuro couldn't think of anything to say as she stood there dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Monokuma continued his little speech, intentionally saying things meant to antagonize Mukuro. Basically, this is your big chance, you know? If you kill Makoto right here and now, nobody will ever take him away from you again. Makoto Naegi, dead by dawn. The last name he ever spoke was Mukuro Ikusaba. The last person he ever smiled at was Mukuro Ikusaba. Doesn't that sound wonderful? There was a certain appeal to Monokuma's twisted suggestion, and Mukuro felt unsure of her own judgment. This is wrong. It has to be wrong. But it's really Junko saying all this. So doesn't that mean it's right? No, this isn't Junko. It's Monokuma. Monokuma, 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 Monokuma. And are you sure you want to help Makoto? Once he gets better, he's gonna know everything. He'll know what you did to your classmates. I can't believe you would actually erase your friends' memories of their time together and force them to kill each other. Makoto might get mad at you and say, our real enemy isn't the bear, it's her. Do you really want him to blame you for all this?
Yes.
Mukuro's face turned pale.
Boy.
Or are you going to kill the others? If everyone except you and Makoto dies, you'll be able to spend the rest of your school life together. We can't hold a class trial with only 2 people. It might be a good idea for you both to live the rest of your lives in this academy forever. No, that's
Damn.
wrong. And what are you gonna do with his memories return? It's not like you were dating Makoto or anything. You were just watching him from afar the whole time. Man, you're so shy. You can shoot people's hearts and brains, no problem. But you can't even woo some stupid boy into liking you. Do you want to know who Makoto had a crush on before his memories were taken away?
Wow.
Mukuro trembled as Monokuma continued pressing the issue, gradually loosening the screws that kept her heart secure. So Mukuro chose to pretend she didn't hear anything. All emotion vanished from her face and she looked silently for Makoto's e-handbook. If you're looking for his blood type, it's not written in the handbook. Mukuro's face turned pale. Within 5 seconds, her plan to ignore Monokuma had already failed. But since your headmaster is made up of 50% kindness, I'll tell you anyway. Makoto's blood type is B. As soon as she heard him,
Wait, seriously?
all the anxiety, horror, hostility, malice, and dread churning within Mukuro had completely vanished. Thank you, Junko. Mukuro's eyes sparkled without a hint of suspicion.
Wow.
She turned her back to Monokuma without a hint of suspicion.
Girl, please, this is an abusive relationship.
Containing the blood pact.
That guy started playing the happy music.
Should have been prepared before the plan took effect. They'll last in cold storage for 21 days. They should still be good. Despite her emotionless face, Mukuro let herself feel a small amount of satisfaction as she took a blood pack from the refrigerator. As
And then
Monokuma
Monokuma
watched
stabs her in the
her,
back and the story ends.
his normally emotionless eyes twitched ever so slightly. If a third party could see his face right now, or even if the other students could see his face right now, they'd wonder, is Monokuma surprised? That's right, they have the same shocked look on their faces as if they were seeing Monokuma for the first time. At that moment, a whisper crept out of Monokuma's emotionless face. There should be a limit to how disappointing you can be. It was far quieter than a mosquito's wings, even her battle-hardened hearing. With her battle-hardened hearing, Mukuro couldn't hear what she said. Monokuma shook his head, and the voice returned to normal. It's not like I care that you, the ultimate despair, has hope in anything. It's not like I expect much from you to begin with, so this will at least help me feel despair. But seriously, you disappoint me. Just so you know, despair and disappointment are completely different things, okay? They're as different as bears and pandas.
What's the quest
What are
called,
you?
Lawrence?
Mukuro's body started to shake as she turned back. Huh?
It said no quests have been posted.
Mukuro's body started to shake as she turned back to look at Monokuma. He hadn't started talking any differently than usual. Junko had turned off the voice modulator and started talking in her real voice. Hadn't turned off the voice modulator and started talking in her real voice or anything. And yet Mukuro was utterly terrified. She was terrified on instinct, not as a soldier. Half the reason she was terrified was because of her instincts as the ultimate despair, and the other half was because she was Junko's older sister. Even through Monokuma, her instincts were telling her that Junko was annoyed with her. Junko? Why are you annoyed? Is it because I betrayed you? Or is it because I didn't die like you wanted? So, Monokuma, I'm beyond annoyed! I'm really, really angry, and I'm really, really disappointed right now! I'm so pissed I could take a rage nap right now! Dude, I know that. That's a fucking mood right now.
A rage nap.
Rage nap?
That's a
I could never.
Monokuma's anger didn't seem any different from his usual anger towards the students, but Mukuro could instinctively sense another emotion mixed with it. Right now, she could feel that Junko was feeling hopeless disappointment. It's not normal for someone who's disappointed to lose hope, but for ultimate despair, disappointment means something else entirely. To them, disappointment was tantamount to losing despair itself. Mukuro was a member of ultimate despair. At her sister's behest, Mukuro had soiled her hands many times in order to fill the world with despair. Despite her pride toward being a member of Ultimate Despair, there was a clear difference between Mukuro and her sister. Junko Enoshima was despair incarnate. She was born in despair, letting it affect other people until it rot them from the inside out, twisting them into her own image. For Junko, feeling hope was its own despair. Creating despair in others created despair in herself, which caused her to feel both intense pain and intense bliss. Junko had walked the fracture created from conflict between pleasure and penance all her life. Eventually, the fracture would widen until it swallowed the world and tore it in half. But Mukuro, on the other hand, had neither hope nor despair for the world. At least not when she was a member of Fenrir. Ever since she was a child, Mukuro believed she was meant to spread despair because of her sister. She didn't harbor any ill will toward the world. She simply accepted she was meant to spread despair and chose to walk the same path as her sister. The doubt she felt was only a recent development. When Junko told her about the plan, when she watched the world burn at the hands of terrorists wearing Monokuma masks, she never wavered once. However, as soon as she heard about her sister's plan to make their classmates kill each other, Makoto included, a strange feeling began to stir within her. What started as a seed of doubt soon grew into a thorny vine ensnaring Mukuro's feet. As soon as she disguised herself as Junko and finished meeting the other students, as soon as she had confirmed that everyone's memories had been completely taken away, that vine began tightening around Mukuro's heart. They're gone. Junko's the only one who knows about me now. That's it. But that's no problem. It's just like old times. Things will never go back to how they used to be, but that's fine. This should be fine. She had relinquished the past 2 years she had spent with her friends so she could betray them and deliver death and despair onto them. Though her heart ached, Mukuro was beyond feeling guilt or remorse for her actions. But the question, why does my heart ache like this, still remained unanswered. Perhaps that's why she spent so much time talking to Makoto when he was in the nurse's office. And when Makoto gave her that one particular answer, something changed inside of her. The words Mukuro blurted out to Makoto weren't improvised to further her role as Junko. It was an honest sentiment from the bottom of her heart. She was even planning to ask Junko herself if Makoto could somehow be spared from her plan. Over the past 2 years, Mukuro's interest had been slowly shifting away from her sister and toward the world itself. By extension, her interests also included Makoto, the first person to ever smile at her and make her feel connected to the world. He was like a sapling of pure honesty that had taken root in Mukuro's heart. But by the time she realized that, the tree had already rotted. As Mukuro struggled to understand the situation, Monokuma let out a sigh and said, I wonder which part of you is wolf anyway. You're just a dog that blindly follows Junko's orders. What does the tattoo on your hand even mean? Are you just a bitch who's pledged her loyalty to her owner? I bet Toka would say something like that. I'm positive.
Jesus.
Monokuma continued to talk as Mukuro stood in confusion. I was obviously lying when I said Makoto's blood is type B. What? Cried Mukuro. You lied, Junko. A normal person would have been suspicious. I never thought you'd actually believe me just now. I must have misplaced my eyes because I totally did not see that coming. Not even with my ability to predict the future. How shocking. Jeez, I'm about to start crying my eyes out like some sort of robot cat. Seriously. It's going to be okay, Junko, said Mukuro. I know our plan kind of fell apart, but I'm still on your side. Are you feeling alright? Because I'll do anything. Snap! A harsh sound came from Monokuma's mouth. That sound was one of my circuits overloading. It's been so long since I felt this angry. Meet me on the roof of the school. I'll smash out all your baby teeth.
Damn.
Monokuma started
Jeez.
shadow boxing in front of Mukuro, who remained frozen in place, clutching a blood pack in her hand.
Damn.
She still
You
looked
got those
confused,
hands.
and Monokuma threw up his arms in frustration. You're so disappointing, I can't even predict it anymore! Roar! A threatening roar burst from Monokuma's mouth as he leapt at Mukuro with his sharp claws extended.
It's pretty threatening. I'm not gonna lie.
At that moment, her face became completely emotionless. It was not a conscious action. The defensive instinct she honed during her time with Bimmer temporarily suppressed her emotions as she countered Monokuma's attack. Mukuro grabbed a nearby IV stand and used it to parry Monokuma's claws. However, Monokuma's claws seemed to be made with a special alloy and easily sliced the bar in half diagonally. But instead of following up his attack, Monokuma continued talking to Mukuro. I guess you're not much of a disappointment when it comes to fighting. In fact, if you were so pathetic that you died from that single attack, that would have been interesting in its own way. But right now, you're just incompetent at everything. I'm sorry, said Mukuro. I couldn't help blocking your attack. But there's no way I can fight you, Junko. After all, I'm all you have. I'm the only one who understands you at all. Mukuro's words were riddled with endless dismay. The contrast between her usual stoic self and the way she was acting now was so stark, people might assume she had multiple personalities. However, Monokuma just quietly stared at her. He was perfectly still as if all his functions had powered down completely. But Mukuro continued to share her feelings. There's no way I can just leave you alone. And then Monokuma broke his silence. But at that moment, a monitor in the nurse's office lit up, displaying a girl's face, Junko Enoshima. At the same time, a voice completely unlike Monokuma's began to play from the speakers. Hey Mukuro. Junko. It had been several days since Mukuro had heard her sister's real voice. Though her face remained emotionless, excitement sparkled in her eyes. However, that shine immediately dulled. I'm grateful to you, Mukuro. I mean it. Junko's voice emanating from the speaker sounded very gentle and kind. Junko? I'm really sorry. I said so many mean things to you. I even tried to kill you earlier, and I was about to make you do something horrible just now. Even though I know about your feelings toward Makoto. You don't have to force yourself. Even if you didn't notice, it was totally obvious to anyone looking at you. You never cared about the class photos, but when Makoto said he was going to take one, you made sure you were facing the camera. And then Junko
Oh shit.
Enoshima, the ultimate despair, flashed a smile, a pure, sweet smile. On the monitor, she looked like a normal high school girl teasing her older sister, and yet Mukuro could feel despair and anxiety encasing themselves around her.
Despair.
I always thought you should have tried hard to take pictures with Makoto, but I guess that's what makes you so disappointing. Still, even though you're disappointing and annoying, I still love you. Mukuro trembled upon hearing those words. I love you. That's all she ever wanted to hear her sister say. Mukuro believed, no matter what Junko said, she believed she really loved her. She believed she was the only one who could truly understand despair, known as Junko Enoshima. She was naive. As soon as she heard Junko say, "I love you," Mukuro realized she never completely understood her sister. It was only at this moment that Mukuro finally understood her sister's feelings. Junko's words right now were kind. Perhaps that kindness was completely honest. The words "I love you" might have been true as well. However, for Junko Enoshima, this was her way of saying goodbye. She was severing the ties between them. It was
Close.
painfully clear to Mukuro.
Go to games and
And
chill.
before she could even say anything, the girl in the monitor made a remark that cut Mukuro to the bone. "I'm sure someday you'll make your dreams come true." Ultimate Despairs never talk to each other like this. A simple truth stabbed Mukuro's heart. Junko had no further use for her. Her own sister was parting ways with her. Mukuro had dedicated over 10 years of her life to the cause of ultimate despair, and at this moment it was all accounted for nothing. But those years no longer mattered to Mukuro. Her sister's rejection was more than enough to send her into the depths of despair. That's why Mukuro, even now, clung to a small sliver of hope. Meanwhile, Junko was still on the monitor. "Yeah, right. Did you really think I'd say something that nice? You're so annoying. Can't you just hurry up and disappear already?" Mukuro hoped
Damn.
Junko would say something like that. She hoped that she'd start verbally abusing her again or call her useless and incompetent. Mukuro was no masochist, but she'd prefer to be showered with bullets and contempt than endure this kind of emotional pain. But "I love you, Mukuro. Bye-bye." The monitor went black, leaving Mukuro to process the horrible goodbye she'd just received. And as if on cue, Monokuma started moving again. "Isn't family love so nice? By the way, did you know that in about half of all murder cases, the killer is a family member?" Monokuma spoke in his usual tone of voice, but it was unclear if his words were getting through to Mukuro. Mukuro let the blood pack in her hand fall to the floor and tightened her grip on the iron bar she was still holding. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Junko, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry." She mumbled quietly as if she were chanting a spell and walked past the blood pack on the floor to Makoto's bedside with the iron bar in her hands. "I'll do it properly. I'll make sure
Oh,
I do it right.
no!
So. Oh?" Monokuma said, perking up. "What are you gonna do properly? What are you gonna properly do to Makoto with that big thick rod you got there?
Oh
Are
my
you gonna do
god.
him? Or are you gonna do him in? Either way, I'm starting to feel some heart-throbbing excitement." Mukuro looked like she had been completely broken. Monokuma walked closer to her with eager anticipation. Suddenly, Monokuma's body silently floated into the air. Huh? With no expression on his face, Monokuma tried to see what had just happened to him. And in the blink of an eye, an iron bar ripped through his body. The tip of the bar, which had been cut diagonally earlier into a sharp point, went straight through Monokuma and stabbed into a surveillance camera. The lens was completely destroyed and the camera shot out sparks as it broke down. The iron bar was still stabbed into the surveillance camera as Monokuma dangled from the other end. He opened his mouth to say something, but only static came out. A few seconds later, his functions came to a complete stop. Without making a sound at all, Mukuro had kicked Monokuma into the air. As soon as Monokuma's power source and his bomb circuit perfectly aligned with the surveillance camera in the nurse's office, Mukuro plunged the iron bar into all three of them. No normal human has the skill to utilize such a technique, not even an ultimate. All the hesitation within Mukuro had vanished. Her eyes sparkled like a panther stalking its prey at night. A tense aura surrounded Mukuro, even more so than when she fought Sakura earlier. Ignoring Monokuma's lifeless form, she looked at Makoto as he breathed softly and remembered her sister's parting words. "So this is despair," she mumbled to herself. "I'm so sorry, Junko. I never really understood what despair was." She spoke without emotion like a machine. "But it's going to be alright now. I finally understand." Hidden within her, passions began to stir. "So, I'll make sure I make you happy, Junko. I'll make sure I fill you with despair. I'll save Makoto. I'll make sure the others don't die. I'll let them escape from I'll deal with the people on the outside, too. You invested so much time and killed so many people for the sake of this plan, and I'll destroy every last remnant of it for you. This was not an act of vengeance towards the sister who had abandoned her. This was an act of mercy. Stuck between the ultimate despair and the hope she gained from Makoto, Mukuro was being refined into something that was unlike despair or hope, and she had no way of knowing where her path would lead. Dude, Mukuro Ikusama.
That was actually kind of a really cool way of doing that? What?
Yeah. Like it's a twisted way of like doing it, but like yeah, she's fucking like that's her way of like changing sides. It's like she'll give her sister like the despair that she wants by ruining her plan.
I mean, it's essentially what Junko was planning to do by tricking her into being murdered by the spears.
Yeah, but that was gonna be like a one-time high, whereas Murkuro is out here like, I'll give you a lifetime supply.
Pretty much. Like literally just a whole ass anime arc of just like her just like bringing them out to school, like dropping down on all the terrorist organizations and fucking them up. Dude, Mukuro Ikusama, dude, the ultimate soldier, got nothing before this. Got nothing before this.
Dude, I like her, and I'm mad now because she did.
I'm saying, like, I like her, but I'm mad now. Over 10 minutes had passed. The sound of the students leaving the gym and making their way to the nurse's office rang throughout the hall. Genocide Jack had continued to dodge Sakura's attacks with her tricky movements. But when Byakuya blurted out, "Enough already, you irritating pervert," Genocide Jack stopped in her tracks. Oh my. Getting chewed out by my bespectacled Byakuya is making my masochistic side get all tingly. They say the line between sadism and masochism is paper thin, but in my case it's more like a Venn diagram. Words can't explain these hot waves of passion squirming from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. As she rambled incoherently about Byakuya, the other students tied her up with a microphone cable in the gym and locked her inside her room.
I like how they just
That's broken! That's broken.
Half the students stayed behind to keep an eye on her, while the rest left to search the grounds of the school. As soon as the door to the nurse's office opened, Kyoko saw a non-functioning Monokuma with a hole in its chest and the remains of a surveillance camera. It wasn't just the nurse's office, though. On their way there, the students had seen several destroyed surveillance cameras and scattered Monokuma bodies.
This character is broken. This character is genuinely broken.
This was a clear violation of school regulations, but if Mukuro was allied with Monokuma, those regulations wouldn't apply to her anymore. The Monokuma inside the gym was no longer moving, and the students had lost contact with the hacker Bishiki Madurai.
What is that name?
I don't know what it is. It's a really bad name. So the students assumed that Madurai had taken control of a different Monokuma and went after Mukuro on his own. With that in mind, Kyoko turned and looked inside the nurse's office once again. It was unusually quiet. The beds were empty, but Kyoko could see from the bloodstains that someone had been resting there recently. Looks like they're already gone, Mondo remarked, but as he was about to leave, Kyoko spoke up behind him. I'm going to stay here with Chihiro and search for clues. Huh? Asked Chihiro, her timid eyes widening. Clues? Kyoko continued to speak in a calm tone of voice. Yes, there may be some clues in these Monokuma remains. I figured you'd be the best candidate for investigating machinery. Sakura spoke up. But isn't that dangerous? Since Sakura could clearly hold her own in a fight with Mukuro. She had joined the other students in searching the school grounds. Kyoko shook her head and replied, I'm sorry to say this, but if things get out of hand, Chihiro and I will just be in your way. I think it's better if we search for clues here instead of doing nothing. Besides, we might be able to use Monokuma's parts to detect any radio broadcasts from the outside world. You certainly have a point. Understood. We'll be exploring this floor for a while. Please shout for us if anything happens. Sakura left the nurse's office. How did she destroy Monokuma like this? As Chihiro cautiously stood over Monokuma's remains, Kyoko started searching through the room. She zeroed in on one of the beds and began studying it intensely. A moment later, Kyoko was satisfied with what she found and let out a small sigh before she spoke. Chihiro, let me apologize to you in advance. Huh? I dragged you into this gamble of mine, so if anything happens, run out into the hallway and call for help. What does that mean? But instead of answering Chihiro's question, Kyoko started talking to one of the empty beds. Let me say this first. I'm prepared to hear your story. No matter how ridiculous it may sound, you must not decide if it's a lie or the truth until after I've listened to it in its entirety. Chihiro looked confused. She didn't understand what Kyoko meant at all. The ultimate...
Why is Kyoko still so broken?
Lower her eyes and turn to the ultimate programmer to make a request.
The ultimate bro?
Yeah. Chihiro, does your laptop have a voice recording function? And do you also have a microphone? Huh? Yeah. I want you to use that to record everything we're about to hear. But there's no one here. As Chihiro wondered to herself, she began connecting Monokuma's parts to her laptop and turned on the record function. I'm sure we'll pick up every sound in this room now, said Chihiro nervously. Satisfied, Kyoko nodded and once again started talking to the empty bed. So what were you going to do if I told everyone that I had found Makoto? When she heard Kyoko say that, Chihiro looked back at her and was surprised by what she saw. At that moment, the program from that position, she was able to see it. Of all the beds in the nurse's office, there was one bed in particular that couldn't be seen from the entrance. Underneath that bed lay a limp Makoto. A blood pack was hidden next to the bed and slowly providing Makoto with a transfusion. The contents of the blood pack were clear. Rather than blood, it seemed to be some kind of saline solution used in emergency hydration. So it wouldn't be as effective as an actual blood transfusion. It was enough to keep him from going into shock. So that was the extent of Chihiro's medical knowledge. She was already surprised that Makoto had been in the nurse's office this whole time. Not only that, but Kyoko wasn't talking to the bed that Makoto was under, which sent chills throughout Chihiro's body. However, there was nobody under the bed that Kyoko was facing. But the moment that Chihiro noticed that, a voice rang out from underneath it. As soon as everyone's attention was focused on Makoto, I was planning to take advantage of that opportunity to take someone hostage. As Chihiro cautiously lowered her head until it was nearly touching the floor, she was able to make out who was talking. Surprisingly, the person hiding there was clinging to the frame of the bed, like a ninja clinging to the ceiling. Presumably, if someone had glanced under the bed quickly, they wouldn't have noticed anybody was there.
Huh.
So she's just like clinging to like the bed frame, like super tightly, I guess.
Jesus Christ.
Though Chihiro had no idea how the person was able to hide under the bed for so long, she could at least understand that their strength was beyond normal human level. She got that level 3 grit gauge, dude. There was no question that the person hiding under the bed was Mukuro Ikusaba. But you pretended not to notice. Why? Mukuro's voice was cold as ice, but Kyoko didn't even flinch as she responded. Because I wanted to hear your side of the story. I knew you were hiding under that bed. Compared to the others, the frame was slightly more pronounced. Chihiro tried comparing the beds to see if this was true, but she couldn't tell the difference at all. Only Kyoko's natural observation skills could let her see something like that. Mukuro seemed to come to a similar conclusion and appeared from under the bed without making a sound. Her face was stoic and cold. Compared to the bomb inside Monokuma, Chihiro thought she was even more terrifying. However, Mukuro ignored Chihiro and shifted her gaze at Kyoko. She leaned against the wall and let her arms fall to her sides as she threw out another question. Why do you want to hear what I have to say? Kyoko thought about this simple question for a while, as if she was searching within her own heart for the answer. If I have to provide an answer, it's because I wish to remain neutral. Kyoko quietly looked down. I'm currently missing most of my memories. I don't know who I am or what talent I had to be accepted into the school. She could hear Chihiro gasp behind her, but Kyoko didn't mind and continued. Well, even so, I believe I should listen to what you have to say. Regardless of whether you're good or evil, I must hear all the facts in order to know the truth. Good and evil don't matter. I'll come to a conclusion based on what I see and hear. I think that's the mythology that's been instilled into me. I see. I completely forgot you were like that, Kyoko. But before I listen to what you have to say, I'd like to ask you one question first. What is it? Mukuro's reply was completely emotionless. Kyoko presented her question as if she were asking it of herself as well. What was my talent that allowed me to attend this academy? The answer to that question was simple. Kyoko, you're the ultimate detective. That answer marked a turning point for both girls. Thank you. I have a better understanding of the situation now. Kyoko slowly raised her head and my memory loss wasn't just a coincidence. Then your group has the ability to erase people's memories. With that in mind, if we take into consideration the situation that unfolded in the gym earlier, I can only come to one possibility. Possibility? Yes. Well, you said to Byakuya when he thought you were taking Toko hostage. You claimed that they met 2 years ago, but it's possible that might have been actually true. The fact that Makoto called out Mukuro's name, the things that Mukuro confirmed and denied, Genocide Jack's outlandish claims. These key factors that Kyoko noted using her special observation skills were converging in her mind to form one answer. It's possible that Byakuya and Toko's memories were also erased, like mine, but I don't think their circumstances are quite the same as mine. But if our memories can be controlled so freely, it calls into question whether the day Monokuma appeared was really the same day we entered the academy. Like you said, it's possible that we've known Toko Fukawa for the last 2 years. What do you mean? Chihiro cried, still working on connecting her laptop to Monokuma's parts. Kyoko continues, speaking to both Chihiro and Mukuro. We thought we were knocked unconscious with sleeping gas the moment we arrived at the school, but it's possible we were simply made to think that's what happened. For example, we may have already spent the last 2 years at Host Peak Academy and our memories of that time were completely erased. It's even possible that we aren't even ultimates at all, just random people who have been implanted with 16 years worth of false memory. Though Kyoko's claim sounded ridiculous, her face was completely serious. She looked over Mukuro once again. Which means I'm considering the possibility that your crazy story is actually the truth. Kyoko's declaration filled the room with silence, but she didn't let that silence overwhelm her. Kyoko cut through with her own words. Without evidence, all I can do is make hypotheses. That's why I wanted to hear what you have to say, Mukuro. I have no intention of blindly believing what you're going to say, or what that self-proclaimed hacker who took over Monokuma said. She paused and lowered her eyes again, then declared with powerful determination. Even so, I intend to come to a conclusion as fairly and objectively as I can. But I can only do that if you trust me and tell me the truth. Kyoko's conviction was clear from her voice. Mukuro's eyes narrowed slightly, and a tapestry of emotion flashed across her face as she looked toward Kyoko. But when she opened her mouth, her expression and voice were void of emotion. That's right, I completely forgot you were like that. Mukuro repeated this to herself softly, then faced Kyoko and declared, that must be why Junko took care to erase more of your memories compared to the others. Very well, I'll tell you everything. And after Mukuro placed Makoto back on the bed, she began to mechanically tell a story. The story of a girl who wanted to fill the world with despair, a girl who only felt truly happy when she was filled with despair herself. A plan for despair that began 2 years ago, or perhaps even earlier than that. how the world was currently ruled by despair itself. Mukuro provided a brief summary of everything she knew about the plan. That's why it sounded even more outrageous than Kyoko had expected. And through her story, Kyoko was able to learn the truth about herself, who she is and why she came to the academy. The fate of the academy's real headmaster, Kyoko's father. As she listened to Mukuro's story, Kyoko remained silent the whole time. Her face went blank when she learned her father had died. Perhaps her memory loss and the absurdity of the situation helped lessen the impact somewhat. But there was no guarantee Kyoko would even believe her story. After Mukuro finished speaking, Kyoko stayed silent. With her unrivaled mental prowess, she was able to listen to Mukuro's story without interrupting or dismissing it as nonsense. Mukuro continued. You don't have to believe me. After all, any pictures that could prove my story are incorrect. All I can do is talk. After she said that, Mukuro silently walked toward the entrance to the nurse's office. When she arrived at the door, she spoke without looking back. But even if you don't believe me, you still listen to everything I had to say. So Kyoko, Chihiro, thank you. After apologizing in such a strange tone of voice, she turned to the bed where Makoto lay breathing weakly. Make sure Makoto stays rested. When he wakes up, make sure you give him some sports drinks from the dining hall or a supply room to drink. Please. Of course, but what are you going to do now? Asked Kyoko. Mukuro straightened herself up. Despair. I need to make Junko feel despair. Mukuro continued mumbling to herself as she opened the door. There's nothing else I can do. No, there is something you can do. Regardless of whether Monokuma is really Junko Inoshima or Bishiki Madarai, if you're dealing with him, he won't be able to lay a finger on Makoto. I don't fully trust you, but if you're really concerned for Makoto's life, I'm willing to work with you. Unlike Bishiku, who's probably abandoned him already. Right? I'm sorry. I don't really work well with others. Mukuro looked away, then bowed her head as she... But I'll do that my best. The doors opened and Mukuro was gone. I'm sorry for involving you in something so dangerous, Chihiro. As she continued to organize the vast amount of information that Mukuro gave her, Kyoko turned to Chihiro, who was still working on Monokuma. As she trembled with fear, Chihiro slowly looked back at Kyoko.
Poor Chihiro, God.
Kyoko? About what Mukuro said just now. Chihiro's face turned pale as she struggled with her words, and Kyoko tried to calm her down. We can't determine if anything she told us was true or not. There's no need to be afraid. But Chihiro shook her head and returned to looking at her laptop. I think she's telling the truth. What are you basing that on? Well, it looks like Monokuma really is being controlled from the outside. Part of Monokuma's system had been connected to Chihiro's laptop, and she was analyzing the data within his control system. And it was then that the ultimate programmer noticed something unusual about it. This control program. I thought it would be another year before this system became fully operational. Chihiro started trembling so much she was unable to continue speaking. We can't confirm that, Kyoko, said Kyoko, proposing another possibility to avoid jumping to conclusion. It's possible that a similar program was being developed in secret, but Chihiro adamantly shook her head and said, No, that's not it.
No, that's wrong.
It just looks really familiar to me. Kyoko looked over Chihiro's trembling shoulders to peer at the screen, and that's when she noticed this program. Chihiro, did you create this? All the ultimate programmer could do was nod weakly. Mukuro continued moving forward and was fortunate enough to not encounter Sakura Mondo. With no interference from anyone, she made her way to a hall as large as the gym and stood before the sealed main entrance. Suddenly, Monokuma popped out from the shadows to block her path. With this hall that resembled a nuclear bomb shelter, replete with all manner of heavy weaponry, Monokuma's silhouette was conspicuously out of place here. His laughter rang throughout the room as he wiggled his body from side to side. What were you doing at the nurse's office? Did you eliminate your rival for Makoto's affections? Or did you help play matchmaker instead? Either way, don't you think it's kind of adorable to put Makoto and Kyoko in this kind of situation together? If this were a suspense film, those two would be the last couple standing. But if this was a horror film, they'd just die anyway. The killer was alive all along. Splat goes the blood. Plop goes the meat. I'm a huge fan of endings where the characters think they're going to live, but they're really headed to a final destination. Oh my god. What a reference. Wait, what the hell is tenation? What does that even mean? Despite Monokuma's angry complaints, Mukuro remained unperturbed. She continued to stare icy daggers at Monokuma if she was waiting for him to finish speaking.
Why is Icy Daggers highlighted?
I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm just so sad right now. A regulation-breaking delinquent is disrupting the harmony of this peaceful academy. I can't even keep one of my students from running wild. Time to say goodbye to your incompetent headmaster. I'm gonna use the Monokuma evolution to become a big magnum headmaster and mold you into a decent student. As soon as he said that, Monokuma extended his claws and waddled toward Monokuma. So if I'm gonna mold you, then I gotta kill you first. Right as he finished speaking, Monokuma suddenly charged at Mukuro like a spiked volleyball. But Mukuro was fast and dodged Monokuma's attack. She jumped back, keeping her distance from Monokuma just in case his claws would extend even longer. Just then, a shadowy figure appeared next to her. Mukuro twisted her body to its limits and just narrowly evaded the figure's attack. When she landed on the floor, she immediately saw... So what does the immortal killer want anyway? Are you going to tell the others the truth and escape with them? Even though you know what the outside world is like right now? Two Monokumas were speaking to Mukuro in unison. Honestly, I don't mind if you do that. I can just imagine the look on everyone's face when they discover the truth. It fills me with such heart-throbbing excitement. The two Monokumas continue to speak in stereo sound. You said you destroy my plans, but there's no happy ending waiting for you no matter which route you take. And you only have yourself to blame for that. Don't tell me you thought they'd be grateful to you. Even if you guys escape here, do you think they'll still forgive you when they get a whiff of that nasty air outside? Some of them might prefer to stay in the school, and some of them might even resent you for kind and showing them the truth. But then again, this is all your fault anyway, so it doesn't really matter what they do. Monokuma made a little mistake. Despite facing down two Monokumas, Mukuro's expression didn't waver. She understood that controlling two Monokumas simultaneously was a piece of cake for Junko. Mukuro drew an arm-length metal bar from seemingly out of nowhere and readied herself. It was the remains of the IV stand from the nurse's office, sharpened into a pointed weapon. With her weapon in hand, Mukuro responded in a cold, mechanical tone. That's fine. I'm already used to that. None of the fear she felt when Monokuma suggested that Makoto would blame her appeared on her face. Her path was clear to her now, and she calmly issued her demand to Monokuma. Junko, open the gates. The shock of such a straightforward demand left both the Monokumas momentarily speechless, but as soon as they replied, Huh? Why? So we can all leave together. Another straightforward answer. Both Monokumas faced each other and began gesturing as if they were whispering to one another. Mukuro knew that their moves were intended to mock her. Unmoved, she continued to speak to Junko directly. I think they'll understand if I show them the outside world. And then they'll stop doubting Makoto. You always find new ways to disappoint me, Mukuro. Do you forget why the school has an air filtration system? It's true that the air outside is polluted, but I don't think it'll kill us immediately. Besides, it's better than being trapped in the school and forced to kill each other. How can you be so sure the others will go along with you? You know what I mean, right? Before the former headmaster got turned into space dust.
What?
Space dust. He interviewed the others and they all agreed that they wanted to stay in the school. That was before their memories had even been erased. Do you really want to betray their wishes? Mukuro blinked and slowly stepped forward. I don't really care about their feelings. Huh? You're all I need, Junko. So don't worry, I'm always watching out for you. I'm gonna make sure you feel despair. I'm gonna make Makoto and the others happy. If you want to revel in your own despair that badly, then I'll trust the hope Makoto gave me and take my chances with them instead of you.
Damn.
Mukuro's brief but powerful words caused Monokumas to turn and talk to each other again. Oh my, this doesn't look good at all, Monokuma A. This child doesn't realize her own hypocrisy. She's so disappointed that she's starting to reach critical mass, right, Monokuma B? The two Monokumas looked at Mukuro, who seemed ready to destroy them, and said, What do you think, Monokuma C? Mukuro was taken aback by their question, but her instinct suddenly kicked in and she immediately dodged away. At that moment, a third Monokuma, claws extended, passed by where her head had been previously. This new Monokuma unit landed with several spins and faced Mukuro, who had clung to the remains of a surveillance camera still attached to the ceiling. I agree with you both, A and B. The three Monokumas lined themselves up. To the students locked inside the academy, this sight would have been akin to a nightmare. Right on. The three units began speaking in perfect harmony as their six eyes looked up at Mukuro.
Oh, like, they just keep adding more quotation marks as more Monokumas are talking simultaneously.
Suddenly, they each jumped away in their three separate directions and kicked off one of the walls. The path of each unit's triangular attack all converged on a single point, Mukuro, who was still clinging to the ceiling. She was surrounded by razor-sharp claws coming at her from different... But this situation wasn't even a nightmare to Mukuro. Compared to the time she fended off three assassins who had invaded her camp one night back when she was still a member of Memory, this was nothing. This thought had crossed Mukuro's mind as she dangled from the ceiling with one hand and thrashed her limbs around like a tornado. Intercepted by this move, the Monokumas fell to the floor with a loud crash. Mukuro landed on the ground and chased after one of them, brandishing her metal ball. Suddenly, she stopped moving and took a huge leap back. One of the Monokumas exploded with a deafening roar. He had detonated the bomb inside himself in an attempt to take Mukuro down with him. But thanks to her honed battlefield instincts, Mukuro managed to avoid the explosion. She avoided the hallway, expecting the explosion to have attracted the attention of Sakura and the others, but she didn't hear any footsteps approaching. Monokuma's voice rang from the dense smoke. Oh, you don't have to worry. I already told the other students to assemble in the cafeteria. They were eager to follow my orders after I told them I had disarmed the poison gas and that a special police unit was coming to get them. I'm pretty sure Kyoko and the others are all in the cafeteria by now. I'm sure Makoto is with them too. I doubt Sakura will get too rough with them, but I'm sure Byakuya will torture Makoto once he wakes up. I can just imagine him rubbing salt or pouring soy sauce into his open wounds. Man, I'm getting all hot and bothered right now. As she listened to Monokuma overlapping voices, Mukuro tilted her head slightly and asked, I'm pretty sure they're going to find out that you lied about that special police unit. Are you really okay with that? No worries. Once I dealt with you, I don't care at all if they found out I was lying. You still don't get it? You're such a disappointment. It suddenly dawned on Mukuro. Not Monokuma didn't
No,
care.
5.
Yeah,
Look.
I don't know if he lied.
I
But rather,
suppose-
the
Oh, shit, you're
voices
right, yeah.
of Monokuma and the smoke were gradually increasing in number. Jesus.
It's gonna be 10 to the power of 60.
As the smoke started to clear, the shadows of three Monokumas appeared. The one that exploded couldn't have revived, so a new one must have come to take his place. But there's no way Mukuro only heard three Monokumas talking just now. As if to prove her hearing had been accurate, the Monokumas suddenly made their move.
How was she able to control that many of them at once? And had each one like moving simultaneously?
The three Monokumas bent over and began twirling their upper bodies. Behind them, new emerged like after images brought to life. This second row of Monokumas mimicked the earlier ones with only one frame of delay, revealing even more Monokumas to find them. Eventually, Mukuro realized there were 3 rows containing 10 Monokumas each. Did you know this is called a circle dance? Monokuma's 30 voices spoke in perfect harmony
What?
as they divulged information that had nothing to do with the current situation. Mukuro already knew that multiple Monokumas were positioned throughout the academy, but only Junko knew how many Monokumas actually existed. Mukuro had no way of knowing if these 30 Monokumas were part of a larger contingent. A flock of two-tone teddy bears continued to twirl around. Mukuro felt like she was being bombarded with hypnotic images. But faced with this abnormal sight, the ultimate soldier remained calm and maintained her focus. She was nothing like the girl who had panicked earlier in the gym when Makoto was impaled. As she stood before 30 emissaries of despair, she slowed her breathing and allowed her to accelerate. It was instinct, not fear or panic, that sent her blood racing through her body, speeding up the reaction time of her cells. As her senses sharpened, the Monokumas began speaking to her again. Don't worry, I'll make sure Makoto doesn't die. As long as everyone lives, I can reset their memories as many times as I want. That's right, all your effort, hope, dreams, and determination are going right in the garbage heap. The Monokumas took turns speaking in groups of 10, as if the mastermind controlling the Monokumas wanted to show off her ability to. However, the ultimate soldier knew what the true purpose behind all this was. She strained her ears to their limit and noticed a certain sound hidden among the Monokuma's voices. Mukuro's face remained perfectly still as she kicked off the floor. The moment she moved to the side, a roaring sound shook the entrance hall. The ceiling-mounted turrets in front of the gate started raining bullets down on Mukuro. The Monokumas were just a mastermind decoy while she tried to blow her away. As if further trapping her, the Monokumas charged at Mukuro through the storm of bullets. Mukuro guessed that the mastermind programmed their movements in advance so they wouldn't get hit by a single bullet. She ran for the gates, evading the waves of bullets and claws every step of the way. Programming 30 Monokumas and 2 turrets while predicting Mukuro's escape route. This would have been considered impossible for anyone, but Mukuro knew it was possible for Junko. As the ultimate despair, she possessed despair-inducing abilities that surpassed the capabilities of any normal human.
Despair-inducing abilities.
Yeah, that's a fucking phrase. Her display of power was only for filling Mukuro with despair. The scene playing out in front of Mukuro was brimming with despair. The adorably deadly Monokumas laughed and danced like reapers as bullets whizzed through the air. It was despair to the point of absurdity, and it was all for Mukuro. But in the presence of such despair, Mukuro felt a strange serenity. For me? Junko is doing all this for me? Junko, are you watching me right now? In the end, perhaps Mukuro really was a disappointment. She clenched her fist. Junko, thank you. The sound of gunfire overshadowed her whisper, and Mukuro fell completely silent. As a member of Ultra Despair, Mukuro's heart was filled with joy. Though she was filled with emotion, her eyes had lost their sparkle. Silence filled the air. Even the gunfire from the turret seemed to stop for a moment. But that was only an illusion to the one controlling Monokumas. Something strong enough to silence the gunfire and avoid being picked up by the sense spread through the school, with Mukuro at the center. I'll make sure I do this right. With that final thought, she closed her mouth and turned off her emotion. As she ran through the waves of scorching bullets, the air around her began to grow colder. As this coolness spread into her heart, it began to beat in a mechanical fashion. Several seconds later, Mukuro's body and mind melded together, became one with her surroundings. Her temperature now dominated the battlefield. Despair, bullets, and Monokumas filled the area. Mukuro predicted their movements and jumped into the air without any hesitation. One of the Monokumas jumped at her, but she avoided this attack, kicked his body, and launched herself in midair. Bullets pierced through the space Mukuro was previously occupying, striking the falling Monokuma right through its internal bomb. The impact of the bullet caused it to explode, sending fiery Monokuma parts everywhere. As she rode the blast wave, Mukuro balanced herself in midair as she kicked away 2-3 Monokumas that leapt after her. She moved so gracefully she was practically flying. In contrast, the Monokumas threw themselves into the path of the oncoming bullets, exploding one after another. Some of them exploded near the main entrance, but their blast didn't even leave a scratch. With full control over the entrance hall, Mukuro evaded bullets and confirmed that the bombs inside Monokuma's weren't enough to destroy the door. But she refused to stop. Mukuro needed to get information on what she must do to escape the academy. She had no desire to kill Junko. Mukuro wanted to fill Junko with despair by instilling hope into the future of Makoto and the other students. That was Mukuro's ultimate goal: get information. In contrast to her determination, her mouth stayed shut. But this does not mean Mukuro was not currently speaking to Junko. This battle of death and destruction was a conversation of sorts for Mukuro. All she knew how to do was fight. She thought she wasn't interested in anything else. She thought she didn't need anything else. All Mukuro needed was to be a sword to fulfill her sister's desire for despair. That purpose alone was the crux of her existence, and she lived her entire life convincing herself that she couldn't do anything. That's why her power was like a language to Mukuro. A battle to the death could reveal more about her heart than mere words. Her words were the wind of savagery that blows across the battlefield, uprooting others who also speak the language of violence. This was true even against her sister. When Junko would berate her sister, Mukuro couldn't talk back. All she could do was cower and apologize profusely. But it's different now. For the first time, Junko was using a language her sister actually recognized. The child of despair who tore the world apart was speaking to her sister in the language of power. Mukuro's heart filled with joy. For that reason, she strengthened her focus on her conversation with Junko, and that emotion began to gradually disappear. On this frigid battlefield, Mukuro continued her heated conversation. Endless rounds of despair fired from the school's turrets, but Mukuro's words intercepted every last violent shot that threatened to shatter her body and mind in half. She quickly realized that Monokumas hadn't decreased in number at all, no matter how many she kept destroying. Not only that, she knows that more Monokumas had been joining the fray, up until there were nearly 50 of them for Mukuro to fight. But Mukuro's resolve wouldn't break so easily. As she continued to wield her power, her heart began to fill with something that was neither hope nor despair. She learned despair from being abandoned by Junko, and she learned hope from her acts of violence. For Mukuro, who had no interest in this world, the small space in front of the gate was a reflection of her life, a representation of her perfect world. This disappointing girl, filled with endless disappointment, who knew of no other way to live, continued her lonely dance. She surrendered herself to the rhythm of despair which accompanies the music of hope. Oh, really? The computer area? Wow.
That got extremely wordy.
Yeah, it did. How much time had passed? Various cameras at the gates were capturing footage of countless Monokumas falling at the hands of a child who fought like a raging demon. The Monokumas bolstered their numbers, and now 100 of them were trying to sink their claws.
But how many Monokumas were in this school? What the fuck?
Most of them were running on autopilot, reacting to her movements based on prior information they received. But despite standing before hundreds of mechanical adversaries, Mukuro's face showed no fear. She hadn't sustained a single injury, giving her presence that was nearly divine.
Why is he so broken?
She's the ultimate soldier, dude. Though Sakura Ogami was powerful enough to injure her arm, Mukuro in her current state could potentially fight Sakura to a draw now without relying on firearm. She took complete control of the battlefield, taking in her surroundings. They were a part of herself. She dodged attacks from the rear as though she had eyes on the back of her head, and stabbed through Monokuma's weak points with her metal bar. No matter where the attacks came from, Mukuro deflected them as if her skin were covered in eyes. Describing her as ultimate no longer did her justice. Mukuro had transcended the boundaries of humanity and become a pure killing machine. But despite that, even though she understood the ludicrous power her sister possessed, Junko was not afraid. She felt not one iota of fear. After all Junko can feel is despair. She even started to admire her sister's attempt to fill her with despair, but that sentiment quickly filled Junko with an orgiastic ecstasy of despair. Junko knew. She knew that Mukuro was neither hope nor despair. She was just a phenomenon, a disappointing girl who no longer understood herself, who only knew how to be violent because it was all she could believe in anymore. Mukuro had become an avatar of destruction beyond that of any military force. She couldn't even be considered a soldier anymore. She was She was a natural disaster like a typhoon or a tornado, or perhaps like gravity, she was now a functional force of the universe that only existed to bring despair to Junko.
What?
The mastermind enjoyed watching her sister go all out. If Mukuro destroyed everything and ruined her life, Junko would be comforted by the despair. She could just go right ahead and overpower her. Junko considered this for a few seconds until a familiar hopeless habit reared in its head. Her habit of getting so bored that it made her sick. The girl who had been grinning as she watched the screen now bore a look of calm stoicism, and she reached for the microphone connected to the Monokuma speakers. Mukuro was no longer human anymore, but Junko knew how to bring her back. It was a simple feeling, really, and with that hopeless feeling for Mukuro in mind, the mastermind said just one word. Mukuro. That voice. It was calling her name. Instead of using Monokuma's voice filter, Junko's natural voice was coming out of a Monokuma unit. That's all it took. With one word, Mukuro Ikusaba stopped being a force of nature, became a person again. Monokuma would not miss this opportunity. As if moving to the beat of Mukuro's shaking heart, a torrent of claws leapt to attack her. Mukuro trusted her instincts and twisted her entire body to fend off the attack, leaving her with only a few scrapes here and there. But the despair wasn't over yet. The ultimate despair didn't waste any time making her next move. Mukuro, watch out! Huh? As soon as Mukuro heard that voice, her mind went completely blank. There was no mistaking it. That was Makoto's scream. The scream that saved her from the spears of Gongyar and changed her destiny. No, that's wrong. It took her a tenth of a second to realize that that voice was just a sound clip that Junko had replayed. But it was more than enough to drag Mukuro, who had regained her immunity, into despair. Right when she recovered from her moment of shock, Monokuma appeared behind her and roundhouse kicked her in the temple. She twisted her head to roll with the blow, but at that moment, a different Monokuma attacked her from the opposite side with a headbutt. And as soon as Mukuro dodged the attack, 3 Monokumas launched simultaneous drop kicks and knocked her to the ground. The fact that they weren't using their claws meant they weren't trying to kill Mukuro right away. Before she could stand there, dozens of Monokumas waiting for her on the floor climbed on top of Mukuro and pinned her limbs. One of the Monokumas waddled up her over to Mukuro as she lay face down on the floor and laughed. A pretty girl getting pinned by all these Miis. I wonder if I should feel more excited about this. Don't make that face. If I wanted to kill you, I'd just pump you full of bullets right now. But I don't think the audience watching this on TV would like that ending very much. I need to make sure I do it the right way this time. What are you planning to do to me? Mukuro asked in her emotionless voice. Monokuma guffawed and answered, "Nothing. I'm just going to stick to the original plan to make you play the killing game at the school. I'll erase everyone's memories again. I'll just make them redo the introduction and the entrance ceremony again." In typical Monokuma fashion, he leaned his face toward Mukuro. But it'd be boring if we had to redo everything. Maybe this time I'll have you participate as Mukuro Ikusaba. I'll take away even more of your memories like I did to that irritating detective girl. You'll just be a poor little girl with no memory at all. As Monokuma talked and wiggled his body from side to side, the other Monokumas danced and twirled around. Amid this fantastical scene, Monokuma continued to describe his hopeless pain in a nonchalant manner. At first, you'll be the girl with amnesia, and everyone will feel so sorry for you. But as they unravel the mystery of this academy, they'll find out who you really are. It's exciting to think of how they'll treat you when that happens. Knowing you, you'll probably kill someone purely on instinct. Maybe I should rethink my rules about self-defense. You can't. Her memories would be erased. There was nothing she could do about her classmate. But losing her childhood memories, connection to Junko would be severed as well. Even if Mukuro had no interest in the world, that was unbearable for her. I've heard of New Game Plus before, but this is the first time I'll get to see a New Game Minus. Should I tie you up for fun? Or maybe I should make this game even more massive. Forget hard mode, very hard mode, and inferno mode. Want to just skip ahead to impossible mode? Maybe I'll erase your memories after I drag you on a motorcycle, pummel you with 1,000 baseballs, burn you at the stake, and crush you with an excavator. Mukuro knew what Monokuma was talking about. He was describing the tools they had prepared for the various executions they had planned for the student. After everyone reintroduces themselves, they'll walk around the school grounds and eventually find a flat-chested girl with amnesia, covered in bandages with Fenrir's tattoo on her right hand. I bet a certain fan base might get off on that. If this were a game, that would increase sales by 500%. Well, Monokuma sounded like he was joking. Everything he said was deadly serious. As evidence, Mukuro heard rumbling sound in the distance. Now then, your sweet ride is on its way. Based on the engine's noise, Mukuro surmised that it was the large motorcycle that was supposed to be used for one of the executions. I took the time to bring this all the way from the punishment room, so you better be grateful. Oh, there's a punishment room. Interesting. The sound of the roaring engine grew louder and louder, like the approaching footsteps of death. Mukuro wondered how Monokuma would drive it with such tiny arms and legs, but then she remembered that she was dealing with an ultimate despair. Jungo would make the impossible possible just to bring about despair. A despair that went hand in hand with Mukuro's fate. Did I fail? I couldn't fill Junko with despair? I couldn't save Makoto and the others? Questions raced through Mukuro's mind, but she wasn't able to answer them. There's no way she could have answered them so easily. After all, she was still alive. The sound of the motorcycle grew closer and closer, as if it was threatening to break Mukuro's spirit. Suddenly, Monokuma stopped moving. The other Monokumas continued doing their automatic movements. As this strange event unfolded, Mukuro noticed something. The motorcycle had suddenly gone quiet. After a few seconds, the engine exploded to life and began to approach even faster than before. Only a few seconds later, what appeared in the front of the main entrance was an enormous motorcycle that plowed through groups of Monokumas like a predator hunting its prey. The rider of this motorcycle was none other than Mondo Owada.
Bro, what?
Mukuro and Monokuma were both visually shocked by this turn of events. Instead of addressing them, Mondo accelerated the motorcycle he stole from Monokuma directly to Mukuro. Just before his tire touched Mukuro, he popped a reverse wheelie and turned the entire motorcycle around. The back wheel swept over Mukuro's back, knocking away all the Monokumas that were pinning her. Hey, can you stand? Mondo asked and begrudgingly offered his hand to Mukuro. Confused, Mukuro took his hand and stood up. What are you doing, Mondo? I was so close. One of the Monokumas protested. Not in his normal voice, but as the hacker, Bashiki Madarai. Oh yeah, you're Bashiki or whatever, right? That's right. Why are you helping a terrorist? I ain't bragging about this or anything, but I have no clue if you or this girl is lying. The veins in his temple began to bulge, and cheeks flushed with it in anger, as Mondo said. But still, I ain't the type to just stand around while some idiot gangs up on a girl. What are you saying? Get a hold of yourself. You must be experiencing Stockholm Syndrome. You've deluded yourself into thinking you're friends with the criminal who's taking you hostage. Monokuma tried to explain to Mondo, but he ignored him, took Mukuro's hand and pulled her onto the back of the motorcycle. Oh, shut the fuck up. I don't know nothing about Stockholms or syndromes, but don't go acting like you can boss me around. Mondo shouted.
Jesus.
He revved the motorcycle as if he was using the punctuate his words. The ceiling-mounted turrets began moving, but the two disappeared before the turrets could take aim at the motorcycle. As they zoomed through the hallway, dude, we're fucking driving through the school on a motorcycle. Ceiling-mounted turrets again, yeah. As they zoomed through the hallway, countless Monokumas chased after them, waving their claws wildly through the air. Why? Asked Mukuro. Huh? Shouted Mondo. His voice is even louder than the sound of the engine. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't trust you at all. His lowered voice, dude, typos! He lowered his voice slightly. But still, I don't know why, but I felt like I could trust what he said. He? Inquired Mukuro, but there was no time for questions. The unit leading the Monokuma was chasing after the motorcycle had almost caught up to him. And then, just like an enormous mob of fearsome creatures, they brandished their claws in perfect unison. At that moment, the motorcycle zoomed by a certain girl, a girl whose fighting ability surpasses that of any normal human, the strongest girl on Earth. With a fighting spirit that defied comprehension, the ultimate martial artist kicked off the floor. A sound even louder than the motorcycle's engines filled the room. When Mukuro looked back, she saw Sakura landing on the floor, sending the pack of Monokumas flying several meters away. Sakura?
Jesus.
If she heard Mukuro mumble her name, Sakura didn't acknowledge it. Like a statue of a fearsome god king, she calmed her breathing as she stood before the pack of Monokumas ready for battle. Your pursuit method seemed unbecoming for one who claims to be the ultimate hacker. An overpowering aura seeped from her skin. Her skin shimmered as an intense heat began to fill the hallway. Unlike the power of Mukuro's sheer violence, this was the power of martial arts. Mukuro froze the air around her, and time along with it, but Sakura was generating enough heat to boil the space itself as she stood before the Monokumas.
God,
That
this
heat
rating.
stinging her back, Mukuro... Hifumi and Chihiro were cautiously peeking from behind the door leading to the dorms, while Aoi and Taka kept watch from inside the building. After passing them by, Mondo slowed down the front of the cafeteria and turned into a complete stop. The other students looked warily at Mukuro. But among these students, Mukuro noticed two people who weren't regarding her with suspicion. One was Kyoko, who seemed to be studying the situation. The other one was a skinny boy who was leaning against Kyoko's shoulder. Makoto? Mukuro's lips began to tremble as she sat on the back of the motorcycle. Ignoring the pain coursing through his body, Makoto smiled at Mukuro and repeated what he said to her earlier. I'm glad you're safe, Mukuro. Unfortunately, Mukuro was unable to realize her hope of filling her little sister with despair. Instead, she had successfully planted the seeds of hope into her fellow students. Makoto had barely regained consciousness while Mukuro was fighting the horde of Monokumas at the main entrance. When he woke up, he did something extremely simple. He talked about his memories. Most of the students were still skeptical even after listening to Mukuro's recorded conversation on Chihiro's laptop. Obviously, they were still not entirely convinced at first when Makoto woke up, but after Sakura asked him a certain question, the ambience completely changed. Then beyond the walls of the school, the world is completely destroyed? You're saying there's no one else alive? Makoto slowly sat up to answer Sakura's meek question. Don't worry. I'm sure Kenichiro is still safe. I'm sure he'll keep his promise to you. Sakura gasped. Kenichiro was the only man she couldn't defeat. A man who had promised her a rematch and made her one
other promise as well.
Yes, dude, my fucking brain.
You've been doing a lot of reading.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
No, but I'm just like, that's written like wrong, right? Like that's just bad.
No, that was right. It's just
A lot to parse.
yeah.
How do you know that name? How do you know about that problem? Because you told me. No. Makoto slowly corrected himself. You told all of us. Sakura was silent after hearing those words, but she then faced the other students and spoke in a loud, clear voice. I'm going to trust Makoto. Sakura? Even though Aoi was shocked, Sakura continued to speak with determination. What Makoto just said is something I kept locked away inside my memory. In fact, I was planning to keep that a secret until the day I died. But if I shared that secret, that means there was once a strong bond between Makoto, myself, and with my fellow students as well. Makoto continued to talk in a gentle tone. Though it couldn't have been good for his health, he continued to slowly talk about the memories that the other students no longer had. Why do you know so much about the story I'm planning to write? Are you a specialist nin user who can predict the future?
I'm so angry.
You had me help you with Inky. Wow, wait a sec. How do you know I extorted money from that girl related to the Kuzuryu claim?
Oh no.
Wait, who?
Because you even tried to sell my organs to them.
What the fuck? Who did that?
Nah, I need to know who did that.
And so Makoto kept smiling and talking about their lives together. It's as if it was his duty to do so. Now
I'm trying to think of like who. Mondo, maybe?
Probably Mondo.
I'm trying to think of who else would even be dealing with
It's
Yakuza.
probably Mondo.
Probably.
As the other students listened to him, they slowly began to realize the vivid accounts he was providing couldn't be explained as just passing knowledge. Clearly, some kind of bond between them all had been erased. Only Byakuya remained cynical. There's no way I would have grown closer to
Of
any
course.
of you. It's likely that you're all secretly working together. Though Byakuya was still hostile toward Makoto's recollection of their memories. For the time being, he determined that Makoto wasn't actually a terrorist. Mukuro had brought enough time for Makoto to wake up and share his memories with the others. Even if she hadn't intended to do that, it was still a small sliver of hope that she grasped tightly. And now, as she looked at the boy who smiled at her, Mukuro didn't know what to say. She couldn't think of anything to say at all. Battle was over, and Mukuro was now back to being a disappointing girl. She turned away from everyone's faces and apologetically climbed off the back of the monster. Makoto saw her and slowly opened his mouth to say, "Thank you, Mukuro. You saved my life." Makoto gave her words of sincere gratitude between his weak breaths. Mukuro couldn't bring herself to look at him, as she mumbled to herself, "Why? Huh? If Kyoko told you, then you already know what I did, right?" After regaining his memories and Mukuro should have been nothing but a hated traitor to him. Why would he smile at someone like her? Mukuro kept her head down. Makoto smiled as if he was unsure how to respond and said, "Well, I guess you're right. But you also saved my life many times during these past 2 years." And Makoto took a deep, quiet breath and smiled at Mukuro again. "You're my friend. We, we all spent time with each other. It would be great if you could look for a different path, not despair. If there's any way I can help you, I will." Do you really think I can walk another path at this point? I don't know what you can do, or even what I can do, but I think it's more important to look for that path instead of actually finding it. Was this intentional or coincidence? Just before he regained his memories, Makoto had said something similar to Mukuro when she spoke to him in the nurse's office as Junko. Regardless of whether he lost his memories or regained them, those words revealed Makoto's true character. As Mukuro confirmed that to herself, Makoto blurted out something that was almost too trusting. "And it's not just you, even Junko can." But he was immediately interrupted. Monokuma's face appeared on every monitor in the academy, and his laughter seemed to be coming out of every speaker. "I could have kept pretending to be that ultimate hacker, but it's boring to impersonate someone who doesn't even exist. If this keeps up, I'll lose my identity and turn into a Kanokuma." Kyoko looked up at a surveillance camera and addressed Monokuma directly. "You seem to give up pretty easily. There isn't a bear anywhere that gives up. Regardless, I'm pretty sure Chihira's figured out the secret of my control program by now. So just as I thought, you included that program on purpose." Kyoko realized something when Mukuro told her about Junko. There were two reasons why such a hateful person would have intentionally leave an obvious clue inside the Monokuma unit. Either Junko wanted the students to learn the truth about the outside world and themselves on their own, or in turn their hopes into despair, or she was looking forward to that clue resulting in her own plan being undone, which would allow her to feel despair towards herself. She was an angel of everlasting darkness, delighting in her own despair and using it to spread despair and destruction to those around. Yeah, we know. Fucking know.
Man.
We fucking have to say this shit. Jeez. Why would someone like her continue to play the role of Monica? Actually, I set that program for Chihiro to discover if she happened to be one of the final five.
Bro, what?
Oh no, Chooch fucking died.
Uh-oh.
Oh, rip.
Oh, shit.
Discord just exploded.
Oh.
The word retreat doesn't exist in Monokuma's dictionary.
That's a good line.
But then what happens if Monokuma faces off against Phalanx? Nervousness began to grip the students as Monokuma continued talking in his relaxing, uplifting voice.
Now then, it looks like everyone's here, including Toko, who's still tied up in her
Sorry
room.
about that.
I can't do that voice at all. Don't think about it too hard. Relax, relax. Change LX to a pert for all I care. I'm still be the most adorable bear
Wow, we're
here.
going to Rupert fucking
God.
callbacks?
Byakuya, visibly annoyed with Monokuna's nonsensical ramblings, but bleh.
Oh shit. Chuchi reads a lot faster when he's not speaking.
Yeah, if you want to lure the master man out of her heavenly hiding hole, you need to bring a worthy sacrifice. You're not worthy enough alone. If you pass my exam, everyone will graduate, but if you fail, you'll be held back a whole year. I'll reset your memories, give you a fresh new lease on life, and reintroduce yourselves at the start of the new year again. They say people's lives don't come with reset buttons, but I'm not normal people.
Okay, I think.
Jesus. You suddenly started thumbing through this a lot faster when you're reading it.
Dude,
You went double speed with that song.
dude, like
Asher and I were both trying to narrate, and it was just
when
like
I'm
going by too
fucking-
quick.
When I'm just fucking reading, dude, I read way faster.
Yeah, like, I noticed that. I was looking at it like, bruh.
I don't know. I'm ready for fucking old school despair, girls. I'm ready for fucking old.
My man hit that fucking, what do you call it, Mukuro and Kusama frozen time speed on us.
Dude, I just like, dude, that's how fast I read. That's how fast I read. Whatever. Okay.
Alrighty.
As Yasuhiro struggled to understand, Taka pointed out the nearby monitor and shouted, "Stop this already. No matter what you do to us, we'll never commit murder. These past few days should have already made that clear to you." What was that? Are you serious? Of course, no one here would ever take another human being's life for any reason. Taka shot at one of the students, pale face sitting apart from the others, looked away. It was Sayaka. As she trembled, a voice popped up from behind her. "What do you think, Sayaka?" She couldn't even turn around from sheer terror, but Sayaka knew. She knew Monokuma was standing right behind her. "Do you really think none of you will become a killer?" Monokuma leaned towards Sayaka and asked her a question only she could hear. "By the way, Sayaka, why did you go to Makoto's room when nothing strange had happened yet?
OD!
Did you two have an inappropriate relationship? What would your fans think if they found out you made a move on a boy by sneaking into his room? Or were you there for some other reason?" She could barely make a sound, much less scream, as her trembling raced. Monokuma had nothing to gain by cornering Sayaka and toying with her emotions like this. He simply wanted to sing the young singer fall in despair over her true character. For that reason, Monokuma did not relent. Hey, what are you trying to do to your close friend you've known for the past 2 years? Her determination from last night blended with the memories of Makoto had recounted and ate away at Sayaka's mind like a disease. As her mind began to rip itself apart, she fell to her knees. A clear ball, flying just under 105 miles per hour, struck Monokuma in the mouth with enough force to sink his
God.
face.
God!
Even in the alternate reality,
His
the
mouth
crystal
was
ball stayed
immediately
thrown.
destroyed as his body rolled into a wall and stopped moving. Sayaka came to her senses to look where the ball came flying from. She saw Leon breathing heavily as he stared intensely at Monokuma. Yasuhiro grabbed him and yelled, dude, why did you do that, Leon? That crystal ball is really valuable." Leon had stolen Yasuhiro's crystal ball and thrown it at Monokuma.
Oh my god!
That Monokuma bastard was trying to take me
11307 got him!
hostage. What was I supposed to do? Dude, that crystal ball cost me $2 trillion. $2 trillion! They don't even print that much money anymore. Oh, bullshit. Besides, the world's all screwed up. What the hell are you gonna need money for anyway? If it's
Oh, I
safe
messed
out
up
there,
the numbers,
I'll just
damn
join
it.
the major leagues or whatever and pay you back. Well, I could pay you back by doing something besides baseball. As those two argued, Sayaka fell to her knees. "Hey," shouted Leon, running toward her. "Sayaka, are you okay?" She looked at him and stared blankly. "Leon." She had made up her mind and she raised her head and she said, "There's something I need to confess to you later." "What? Seriously?" Sayaka was staring at Leon so intensely that he briefly forgot about the current situation. Not just to you, but to Makoto and the others too. Sayaka had made up her mind to confess the sin that was weighing heavily on her heart, but Leon seemed not to hear the latter half of her remark. She ran back to slapped at Fumi and Yasuhiro on the backs and shouted, "Alright everyone, let's ace this exam or whatever, get out of here already. There's no way I'm gonna let my happy memories of this place get taken away." The Monokuma inside the monitor responded, "Fine, fine. Now that things are finally coming to a boil, let's start the graduation exam." Sakura, who had been outside the dormitory, suddenly appeared with some information. The Monokumas in the hallway are acting peculiar. The students
More than
all
usual.
moved to the main building to see what Sakura was talking about. Here they saw 50 Monokumas standing in 2 rows along the walls of the hallway, and one standing at the very end of the hall. There was something strange on top of this Monokuma's head. An enlarged version of the escape button that Mokoto had obtained from the Mono machine. Each student took this in sight and took in this sight. An announcement rang throughout the school. The me at the end of the hall has a button on top of his head that'll open the main entrance. You'll have 15 seconds to get to that button. If you do, I'll let you have it in place of a diploma. The student seems surprised by the straightforward explanation. Only Celeste remained calm as she asked Monokuma with a bored look at him. Of course, it is not as simple as running up and taking it, is it? Oh, how mean. Do I look like the kind of headmaster that would interfere with a student's graduation? Forget the fun gunfire salutes. I'm gonna send my graduates off with some fireworks. 100 fireworks to be exact. Now for 20 seconds of hardcore partying. The more perceptive students immediately realized what he was talking about. The bombs installed inside each Monokuma. It would explode one after another, filling the hallway with fire as soon as the time started. After 15 seconds, the me standing at the back of the hall is going to sacrifice himself to give you guys one final firework. By the way, this probably isn't important, but that button isn't very durable. This graduation exam was Monokuma's way of saying that he had no intention of letting anyone leave. It was clear from the explosion that the students saw during the entrance exam the halls of Hopi Academy would be bathed in fire. Even if someone was lucky enough to survive the explosion, the burns on their body would be enough to send them into a fatal shock. Their lungs might be completely incinerated by the scorched air before that. Even if they sacrificed one student to run through, the odds were low that they were low. It should be so low.
The odds were low that they would
Oh,
even succeed.
well, actually, yeah. I was looking. Okay. But there was no reason for every student to run in at once either, and a shadow of despair fell upon their faces. Nice, very nice. I always wanted to take a picture, so I have those faces as a souvenir. As Monokuma laughed from behind the monitor, Sakura stepped forward. I'll do it. I have only seen the explosion once, but I believe I'm capable of withstanding its power. No, shouted Aoi.
Freaking Sakura! Oh my god!
Even you couldn't handle 100 of those explosions. Sakura shook her head. I'm the only one who even has a chance. Suddenly, Mona remembered the motorcycle he parked inside the dormitory and said, "Hold up, that motorcycle might be fast enough to get through those explosions. I'll do it." Don't be hasty, urged Sakura. Even if the motorcycle is unharmed by the explosion, that doesn't mean it's right away. As Sakura and the others
Plus, you could just
debate,
ignite
one
the fuel
person
tank on
stepped
the motorcycle.
forward the hallway lined with Monokumas. I'll do it. Mukuro, screamed Makoto weakly. Makuro, with her back facing Makoto.
New character.
The ship
The
name.
17th student.
She knew it would come to this. She knew why Monokuma would pose such an impossible exam. Junko's already looking forward to the next despair game. She's going to erase everyone's memories, including mine. She just wants to torment us and fill us with despair before that happens. Mukuro knew her sister's personality all too well, and that's why she was confident. She knew the escape button was real. She knew whether Junko brought despair to others, she always made sure there was a possibility that despair would befall her instead. If the students won this game and made it through this horrible situation, they would finally escape to the outside world. That outcome will obviously fill Junko with immense despair. In the same way she left the clue in Monokuma's control program, Junko could not be satisfied unless she took pains to assure her own destruction. It was this quality that made Junko the ultimate despair. That's why Mukuro was determined to do it. She knew she was the only person who stood a chance of making that outcome possible. even if she had to risk her life. But right now, Mukuro wanted to live more than anything. She wanted to hold on to this world, a world she had no interest in previously. She didn't even know if this hesitation she felt was disappointing or not. She wanted to live and continue searching for a new path. A path where she could abandon her submission to despair, where she could accept the sins of the past and continue to live. Mukuro, who was known as a war machine, found her heart beset by an overwhelming fear and anxiety. I read War Machine and I just like heard the fucking War Machine theme from the stupid fucking Sonic Art stage.
I was thinking Marvel. Mukuro, who was actually War Machine.
Oh my
You wanna
god.
learn how to do a motherfucking infinite?
Till now it never occurred to her that determination was necessary to live. As if she was brushing that fear aside, she quietly said, thank you, Makoto. Unfortunately, the words she said to the boy who showed her new possibilities never reached his ears. Sakura, however, heard her and frowned as she said, if you're planning to sacrifice yourself as an act of penance, I'll stop you with all my power. Though her words were formed, there was an unmistakable affection hiding in them. Both girls had dedicated their lives to battle, and yet Mukuro felt a twinge of jealousy towards Sakura possessing something she lacked. Mukuro leaned towards Sakura and whispered in her ear, what? Are you serious?
Mukuro
Mukuro
Ikusama.
Ikusama.
As Sakura's frown intensified, Monokoma's voice blared through the halls. Alright, I'm gonna start the exam now. Ready, set, go! There was no time for questions or objections. The frontmost Monokoma exploded, sending a roaring wave of heat through the hall. But Mukuro didn't look away. She began moving, powered by resolute determination. As soon as the graduation exam started, the mastermind focused her control purely on the Monokuma holding the escape point, and completely synchronized her field of vision with it. She knew what was going to happen. She could predict what her sister Mukuro would do in this exact situation, where she would choose to focus her superhuman skill with weapons. And so, through Monokoma's eyes, she watched the scene unfold exactly as she had predicted. A pointed metal bar burst through the explosion, pointing straight for the weak point of the Monokuma holding the escape point. Specifically, it was aiming for the point where the bomb's detonation system and Monokoma's power source overlapped. It flew straight and true, as if it had been fired by a master archer. In order to bring despair to Monokuma, and by extension Junko as well, the super soldier known as Mukuro Ikusaba threw the pipe like a spear so it would attack the same weak point she had pierced in the earth's walls.
Dude, this chick is just like amazing with a metal pipe. Like every single
Explosion-
time,
as
just solve it with a metal
explosion-
pipe.
It's a fucking javelin throw, dude. As explosions filled the hallway until only fire remained visible. The spear's speed and precision as it soared to its target defied all human logic, but the mastermind knew. She knew Mukuro had used her power to fill the world with despair. Power was all that disappointing girl had, and that power was useless against Monokuma. The mastermind had predicted Mukuro would put all her effort into that throw. Monokuma caught the metal bar perfectly between his hands. The force of the throw knocked Monokuma back several yards, but the pointed end of the bar never pierced through his chest. Well, that was disappointing. The mastermind turned to look at a different monitor. She wanted to see a look on Mukuro's face when she realized she failed to strike Monokuma. The despair of seeing the final Monokuma explode right before her eyes, completely obliterating the escape plan. She wanted to sear this memory of her disappointing sister's final moments as her newfound hope sank into a dark pit of despair. On this instinct, she turned her attention to the surveillance camera that hadn't been destroyed, but instead of seeing Mukuro and the others, she only saw Sakura, who looked as though she had finished launching an attack. She only thought it was strange for 1 second. But then the hopelessly powerful mastermind completely understood the situation and shifted her point of view to Monokuma. But because of that single second, Junko would feel just a pang of despair.
Oh my god.
3 seconds left. Amid the smoke, flames, and heat encircling the hallway, it burst through with the speed of a cannon shell. It glared at Monokuma with hot, boiling eyes that betrayed the icy expression on his face, and then, sharply, swiftly, strongly, it transformed into a living weapon that cuts through everything, revealing its true form in that hall of despair. 2 seconds left. Monokuma, who was still holding the metal bar in his hand, tried to move, but at that exact moment, the living weapon carved a path through the flames that appeared before him. Its body, which had never been wounded on any battlefield, was sustaining all manner of burns and injuries. But even so, it did not falter. The fire in its eyes never flickered once. 1 second left. The living weapon, Mukuro, slammed her knee into the back of the metal bar Monokuma was holding. Yo, she hit it with the forwarder? Oh my
Mhm.
Oh
god.
my god!
The sharp tip of the metal bar pierced through the Monokuma like a rail spike, shredding the detonator and its power source to pieces. Time's up. The 100 explosives ceased and smoke blanketed the hallway. Mukuro had dived into Monokuma and the pristine escape button now rested in her hand. She and the other students of Host Week Academy had passed the graduation exam. There was only a small amount of despair. Monokuma had tasted it in only 3 seconds.
Damn.
Junko. Mukuro looked down at Monokuma. He could no longer move or self-destruct. When she spoke to him, a static-filled voice emitted from his mouth. It seemed his communication function still worked. I never expected you to do that. He still sounded like Monokuma. It seemed his voice modulator was unharmed as well. I must have overestimated you. I never thought you'd need anybody's help on the battlefield. When I give the signal, please launch me forward with a roundhouse kick. Mukuro whispered these words to Sakura just before the explosion started. After Mukuro threw the metal bar, she jumped in the
A
air.
roundhouse kick? Couldn't,
So
like, throw-
basically, they
I thought,
did like
I thought you threw her.
so basically, like she threw the fucking spike,
Threw the spear
threw
and then
she
had
threw the
Sakura
spear,
launch her
and
forward.
then Sakura forward smashed her, and then she used the forward smash momentum to catch up with the spear, and then forward aired it.
Oh my god! We just got wombo combos out here.
It's smash doubles now.
Right when Sakura's foot made contact with her, Mukuro used the force generated by her kick to propel herself out of Monokuma. Using the ultimate martial artist superhuman attack like a springboard, she shot herself through the air like an artillery
Okay, that's an anime as fuck thing to do.
And during the intense heat, shrapnel, and blood-draining G-force, she stayed conscious as she charged through the hallway, engulfed with explosions of despair. Mukuro trusted Junko. She trusted Junko to predict that she'd throw the metal bar and catch it accordingly. Then she tried to look at her face as the despair sets in. But Junko Enoshima she knew would definitely do that.
God, this is
Mukuro
some
hadn't
like
predicted
JoJ
that her
tier
sister
hard
would try to
reading.
kill her with the spears of Gungan.
Actually.
She had a better understanding of her actions now. As Mukuro stared at Monokuma in his face, all he could do was laugh scornfully. You put your life in someone else's hands for a deadly battle? I don't know how to feel about that. You'll always be a half-assed disappointment. I guess this time I'll just say I lost because I didn't see this much disappointment coming. The end, the end. Mukuro shook her head at Monokuma. No, you're wrong, Junko. Huh? If you want to talk about winning or losing, I think we lost before we even started. Mukuro's eyes shifted from side to side as if she was unsure of something, and she fidgeted in place as she continued to talk. No matter how much despair they felt, you didn't think they'd kill each other the way they were before. That's why you erased their memories. They aren't like the others you forced in the past. You knew these students would never do it. That's what you believed, isn't it? What are you talking about? So, it's okay, Junko. I'll bring back everyone's memory someday, and I'll show you everyone's happiness and their bonds. I'll show that all to you, and fill you with even more despair. Said this as if to cheer her sister up. After several seconds of silence, Monokuma responded, You finally beat me this one time, and that lame speech is the best you can do? You're such a disappointment. You never fill me with despair. It's just constant disappointment. After pouting like a sore loser, Monokuma continued to speak in his usual tone. But you guys will be back. And when that time comes, I'll invite you guys to a wonderful place. I found out about this fun island while I was running things here.
Oh, oh.
Monokuma's laughter filled the room before static finally cut out and his remains fell silent. He wouldn't be talking anytime soon. The mastermind was already prepping a new despair to bring to the worst students of Host Peak Academy, Junko included. In the end, the mastermind stayed in her Monokuma persona till the very end, and Junko Enoshima never showed her face again. was as if she resented the despair Mukuro had given her.
Damn.
That thought almost filled Mukuro with despair. But when she heard her classmates calling for her, she sealed that despair into the depths of her heart. From now on, she would seal away all her despair. And one day, when she can give Junko the perfect despair, she'll unleash all the despair she stored and plunge with her sister into a dark abyss. I won't leave my little sister alone.
Dang.
And that was the first hope the disappointing older sister had felt since she was a child.
Huh.
Mukuro, are you really going to go out there wearing that wig?
That looks
Receiving
different.
a blood transfusion of the correct blood type, Makoto was beginning to show signs of recovery. Mukuro, holding her wig to disguise herself as Junko Inoshima, nodded.
They had to put the disguise back on because this was just the only art that they had.
Pretty much. If I live as Junko, I might be able to understand her better. Despite that, Mukuro's voice still sounded like her own, as if she hadn't fully decided.
Like, we can't make a new asset for this thing.
And I've made up my mind. While I'm out there, I've decided I'll accept everyone's hatred toward me and toward Junko. I can't die until I've destroyed all the despair that Junko has spread. The damage that ultimate despair inflicted upon the world could not be measured in terms of money, culture, and even human life. Television broadcasts had already begun informing people that Junko Inoshima and Mukuro Ikusawa were the heart of ultimate despair. Among the survivors in the outside world, there are still people who hadn't been tainted by despair yet. Regardless of the fact she released Makoto and the others, to these survivors she was nothing more than the reason the world ended. And to the terrorists wearing monochrome masks who continued to ravage the world, Mukuro was nothing but a traitor. She was now in the hopeless situation of being enemies with most of humanity, but Mukuro wasn't making a big deal of that. I'm going to try not to kill anyone who comes after me for revenge.
Try not.
Wouldn't it be safe
I'ma
if you
try.
turn yourself in, one of Yasuhiro?
Dude, why are you so dumb?
Dead. But you could live to be an old lady if your trial keeps getting pushed back. Mukuro slowly shook her head at Yasuhiro. Laws, justice, these things no longer exist. Is it really that bad out there? Maybe we should just stay in here. Yasuhiro glared at Yasuhiro with contempt. Ignorant idiot should just shut up. Fate won't change whether you stay in here or not. Though he was shocked to learn the Togami Corporation had been disturbed, Byakuya continued to remain firm and proud even to Mukuro. You are a rare asset, so I will let you live for now. Okay, Byakuya.
Sure.
Depending on your
It's like,
actions,
"Aight,
I
fam."
may consider forgiving your crimes after I've built a new world. Only a Togami would boast that they are capable of forgiving the crime of ending the world. You don't need to do that. I don't plan on just surviving. After turning away from back to Mukuro looked at other students. Everyone was reacting in their own way. Kyoko had a look of quiet preparation. Toko, having just changed back from Genocide Jack, was panicked and confused.
Oh
She missed
god.
the entire
Looked back
story.
on the 2 years she spent with them and turned to Makoto, who shared the same memories as her, and gave him the escape button. Makoto, you press it. Huh? Me? I think it's better if you press it instead of me. As she watched Makoto accept the button, and with some hesitation, Mukuro thought about what Monokuma had said. You guys will be back. Mukuro knew that Monokuma was telling the truth. After all, the file the students needed to fully restore their lost memories remained hidden in the academy. The research notes of Yasuke Matsuda, the ultimate neurologist. His research is the key to restoring everyone's memories. Even if the students no longer have their memories, they may be able to repair the bonds they have built among themselves over the past 2 years. But as long as their memories remain unrestored, the mastermind could still repeat her deadly plan. Although the island mentioned earlier sounded strange, the students could not turn their backs on the despair facing them. Then let's go. Makoto remembered everything that was happening in the outside world. The boy who had chosen to remain inside the academy 2 years ago was now choosing to leave. How much did he struggle to come to that decision? But he was determined to face the despair waiting outside and hid an internal conflict. But protecting Makoto's hope, Mukuro would bring despair to her beloved sister. But she no longer knew if the end result of her goal would lead to hope or despair. She pulled the wig over her head and hid her face with her hands. Was she smiling because hope was waiting for her, or was she crying because her path would lead to despair? As she lowered her hands, her face was devoid of all emotion. Mukuro no longer knew what expression she would wear on her face. At the same time, Makoto pressed the escape button. Siren began to wail as the turrets retracted into the ceiling. From beyond the heavy door, a bright light appeared. An infinite number of ifs, and all the possibilities contained therein encased the world. Accepting everything, hope, despair, and even the feelings of that disappointing girl, Mukuro Ibusan.
Oh no! Someone give her the what do you call it? The self-confidence to do something more. Oh wow, this is animated?
Yeah. This is from like the school mode ending where everyone survives.
What the fuck?
I mean, it's basically the same as the main game ending, but with more character portraits in front.
Yeah, true.
What a novel
New
idea.
world opening. What do you call it?
Oh my god.
What do you call it? New World Order just immediately starts playing and I'm cracking up.
Oh god. Jeez. It's fucking over. Finally. Dude, I was getting fucking tired. Fucking reading, dude. Dude, I would have been
really cool
over.
if they made
That shit would have been over in like an hour and a half. If I fucking like that shit would have been over in like an hour and a half and fucking like did that shit. Like if I was just reading it and just clicking, that shit would have ended so much faster.
Alright, give me a second.
No,
We're
yeah,
gonna-
I'm